Yo, what's up, everybody? Your boy Masti again, and we are about to talk about Phoenix Wright Trials and Tribulations, since that was a game that was voted to win apparently like 2 weeks ago. So, yeah. Also, I checked today, and this week you'll most probably be getting Age of Wonders 4. So, yeah, Age of Wonders 4 and Call of Duty are on a 50-50. So, this week I'll make Wonders 4 along with Trials and Tribulations, and then week after I'll make Call of Duty United Offensive along with Prototype. That is actually my plan. So, anyways, talking about Trials and Tribulations. So, this game was brilliant. Okay, now a lot of stuff will be scripted after this, but this is unscripted for the time being. The game itself was brilliant in my opinion. I think this was the best out of all the trilogies. Out of all the trilogies, I meant to say out of all 3 parts, this was the best part, the Trials and Tribulations. I still say that this might impress me, and it did. It was honestly great storytelling, and it pulled in together all of the other 2 parts. Now, if you are a first-time player, this is obviously going to be hard for you to play, so I recommend playing the first part, second part, and then Trials and Tribulations. That means Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Justice for All, and then you get to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. Please follow that method, because there's a lot of stuff that you'll miss out on if you don't follow the previous 2 cases and come to this itself. For the previous game, I would have not said the same thing, but this game, I will say this, because there is a lot of things in this game that are mentioned from the previous cases. So be sure to actually check on that, okay? I just say that because you need to play the previous 2 games at any cost. Again, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Justice for All. Those 2 games you should for playing this game. I can't put emphasis on how important it is. Also, my English is bad, so don't mind me. Anyways, that is out of the way. I also want to talk about the characters in this 5 episodes that we're going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about the main characters like I usually do. That is Phoenix Wright, obviously, the lawyer. Second main character is Maya Fey. Got Pearl. I don't know what's her surname. I think it's Fey. All the Fey family. So we got Pearl Fey. And then you have Godot, who I will talk about later on in episode 5. You have Miles Edgeworth. You have One Karma. Francis One Karma, I think her name. It's hard to pronounce. Just go around with it. Anyways, yeah. We got One Karma. One Karma's daughter, Manfred One Karma's daughter to be exact. And you also have Larry Butts. So those are the characters that may occur in other series. So that's the reason why I had to put emphasis on that. So yeah, now that is all. Don't forget Mia Fey, Nick's mentor. Mia Fey, in fact, plays a major role in this. So yeah, this is a different game after all. The trilogy pack, right? They're playing 3rd part in the trilogy, so this is a different game. So yeah, this game, Mia plays a very, very, very important role. In fact, you play as Mia, you play as Phoenix Wright, and you play as Miles Edgeworth in this part, which is amazing, honestly, because I wanted to play as Miles Edgeworth, and I know there is a game for Miles Edgeworth, but I'll get into that later. Now then, speaking about this, we'll move into episode 1, and we'll talk about episode 1, which is Learn About Memories. That is the first episode. Now this episode is connected to each and every episode that is related to me. So here's the thing. We see 2 men arguing. One man is warning another man about some woman, saying that it would be bad news if he continues to hang out with her. The latter refuses to believe this and eventually snaps. We see an electric spark. We cut to the man lying down and not moving. We see the latter's face. I didn't do it. Bleeds. None other than our own Phoenix Wright. That's right, folks. Oh my god, I messed that up so hard. That's right, folks. Phoenix Wright is in trouble. And this case is from 5 years earlier, where we will be playing as Mia Fey, and we will be taking her trial, her second trial to be exact. This is not our first trial, it's a second trial. And who is the guy in our second trial that we have to save? None other than Phoenix Wright, baby. So what happens before the trial? You arrive at the defense lobby not easily prepared. So you meet Marvin Grossberg, your mentor. In other words, Mia's mentor. He says he wanted to take the case while you mention your what happened. Maybe. So you meet Phoenix Wright, blind, who looks like he's having a cold. It looks like he has a cold from the rain. You promise him you'll find him in a... It'll be hard to ignore Phoenix sneezing and Grossberg's hemorrhoids comment though. Yeah, that's a thing that it happened. Phoenix constantly sneezes and Grossberg makes comments on his hemorrhoids constantly. Yeah, that is kind of crazy when you think about it. Grossberg just having the hemorrhoids, which is kind of... yeah. So, if you haven't met Grossberg before, well, you've seen him in the first game. Well, first game where... well, in Turnabout Sisters and Turnabout Goodbye. He's related to DL6 case for anyone who wants to, like, remember him. So, Mia introduces herself to you. And, her last case was about a year ago where they were haunted by that case. What happened? Well, he'll find it out in episode 5, actually. Well, episode 4 is Mia will wow, she will. So, we arrive in the courtroom with Grossberg. Our opponent is none other than our old buddy Winston Payne. But Payne has hair this time. So, well, yeah, more hair to be exact. Well, Payne will mention that the murder victim dog Follow, a pharmacologist student at Ivy University. Again, this is hard. So Payne will present the crime photo itself. He mentions that the students discovered the body after the crime. Phoenix walked out in a suspicious way, so he was arrested. With that, we have crime photo 1, which will be added to our court record, and we can check it out at any time. Payne will say that Doug died of an unusual death, and wants us to guess how he died. Don't know about it, but Grossberg tells us to look at the court record. He has all the information on the street and answer questions. And when we look at the court, we are asked about the cause of Fallow's death, and we're given multiple answers or choices like we get in the... So if we check the autopsy report, we can see Fallow died of fusion. So Payne will mention one vital motive. So apparently there was a bad blood between Phoenix and Doug, and there is a certain person who was causing it, and he wants us to know that this. So Grossberg tells us that we can use the Pulse profile from our court record as well by pressing R, I believe, on keyboard. So we check and we back and forth. Anyways, when we are asked who caused the bad blood, blah blah blah. What the hell is wrong with me? I think I need some kind of treatment. Anyways, when we are asked that who caused the bad blood, go to the profile and present Dahlia Hawthorne. Dahlia was girlfriend. I never actually... that's genuinely funny to me. I don't think about it because when I think about Phoenix, I can't help but think about him with either Mia or Maya. This just makes sense. And she was with Dog apparently until 8 months. Payne will now call in and Phoenix Wright will be the witness. But it was a defense. So what's happening? Well, this is 5 years ago, and our defendant is a college student covering his mouth with a mask. Also, he has cold. So Phoenix pleads that he didn't do it, and the judge will have him explain his bug. So we go into our first test. So when we move into our first testimony, says he admits he was there, but he's not the killer, and all he did was find his body. He hardly knew the guy to begin, and he never talked to that suck-up wannabe British. So, well, can press on both statement if I had to. So, pressing, what is this? If anybody playing the game for the first time or listen to this game, but so we can either present or press character state. Present means evidence. Pressing means that we can press can push them, provide us evidence. So yeah. So what we do, highlight, talks about, and press that. So we get a new state. Always walking around back of the shirt. So that statement we put records where we take the crime photo 1. Then like he's not wearing the jacket that unique sword that he was talking about on his back. Wait, it was a leather jacket. Yeah, it was a leather jacket. My bad. Anyways, yeah. So if Phoenix discovered the body, he would only be able to see the leather jacket. So it would be impossible for him to see the shirt with Union Jack on his back. Just accidentally discovered the body. So that was the first contradiction. Payne tells us that you have to prove stumble up, and Payne will consider cold killer and stop it. So Phoenix says yes, but how does Payne know about it? So Payne will show another crime photo in which the same brand medicine, and what's more to it is that it has Phoenix his fingerprints apparently. And not only that, dog must have suspected, so he took it from hand. So that's pretty much an ink photo. So, and also have cool. So Payne will also mention dog's wristwatch stopped working. The follower was shocked. So Phoenix will explain the next test. So Phoenix, the next step happened. Because the truth is that he called, I mean, by he means, so dog was Phoenix was in the pharmacology department. So he agreed at 45, talked for a bit around. Later when they went back, when Phoenix went back, he found the body lying, and the fifth statement says that he'd been taken coke for at least last 2, and he had lost his bottle around lunchtime that day. That's in the final statement. So when we press on, talks about the pharma department, Phoenix will say that Doug had a laboratory filled with chemicals and high voltage. I'm stuttering a lot. You know that? Just while reading a script, much harder to talk. I don't know why, but it is apparent. So we're given a choice to ask more about thing and our pharmacology department and high voltage stuff. So Phoenix will tell us that the electric set up all around the building, not to mention the high voltage cables all around. This sounds like a very good information, so we keep. For now, it's just an information, but we can. And then we press on the sixth statement where Phoenix says that he was always having lunch with, has always Dolly, and dog around the matters. Needless to say, the testimony seems dull. The judge ponders a question. So how is the matter carried out? The murder weapon has been given a choice matter. So Payne will now challenge us to show how Doug was crime photo. What is in crime? One ask. Well, if you check carefully within the first photo, you can wires hanging. You can just present the seven cable wire above the box and recall what Phoenix hype. Surprised that is completely deadly. So Payne will now know how he took it. So Phoenix's fingerprints were actually all over Dog's jacket. It is likely that Phoenix questioned more wires. And at this point, it seems really bad because Phoenix proven with does give a testimony about when he put the victim. So in testimony, guy talking bad about Dolly. Second testimony said Emperor gave him a shot. Third testimony said at the moment some kind of loud noise. A little while after I started to say a statement. And the fifth statement is, so I went back, but he was just lying dead. So those are the 5 testimonies. So we press on to his, and he says there's a loud noise, sound is loud, and Payne presumed follow. And Doug was, and when asked, so added. And so Phoenix steps to testimony as information after show down on top of his umbrella. And then in crime photo 1, we have closely an umbrella, but is nowhere near Doug's body. If he did land on his umbrella, then when he was shocked that the umbrella body, so he might be a few yards before the umbrella would wait. The umbrella will be added to our. So they have given the judge reason give the final verdict. However, consider say that there's a huge hole that has been blown against Phoenix. Anyways, Phoenix testimony added to it, and this is where Payne will give us a new that he's going to Dahlia Horton, and the judge will call and file of his during the retrial of it. Phoenix also shows Dahlia's present, which basically an with a diamond, and Phoenix very first met 8 years ago, where he was studying to be. So he was into her while she was downstairs in him. So Phoenix presumes that this is a symbol of their relationship, and Phoenix will tell us that they have been dating since. So that is all the information we need from Phoenix. But we ask for they met on August 27th in the courtroom, and he yes, and that actually means that we can show him a newspaper clipping that we have in our court record. I never mentioned, but there was a newspaper clipping that was in the court record. It was mentioning about 7th. So we show that, and then it gets updated. And that is basically exactly the same day a murder that happened in the courtroom. So yeah, let's talk about the second part of the trial, shall we? The Payne calls Dahlia, who claims to be a witness of Feeney, and he didn't do anything. So Dahlia will testify about what she saw. So our first testimony is her first statement in her testimony of what I witnessed is I had been planning to go back to Feeney's place after class was over. Second testimony, Feeney and Dougie, they were talking behind the building. Third statement is then suddenly Dougie got all wobbly and just collapsed. Fourth statement is that's when Feeney noticed that I was there, and the fifth statement is I went to go and find some other students and they call the authorities. At that point, Dahlia will tell us that we haven't changed it, and it means that the foreshadowing, something that will. So, when we cross-examine Dahlia, we press on Dahlia's third statement, and she says she never saw Phoenix or Doug fight. When given the option, we objection, and we demand Dahlia to tell us the truth. We will add 2 new statements. It says, actually, I didn't see the moment he pushed Dougie. It didn't look like they were fighting, and there any. So, here's the thing. Dahlia has just slipped up, and we can just give testimony where Phoenix testified to us that he heard a noise of snapping. So Dahlia's Feeney testified that he had heard a sound when he pushed Dog, like a loud snap. Dahlia will cover her mistake, saying that she was wearing headphones at the time of crime. She's afraid of the sound of thunder and lightning. She was listening to her headphones, therefore she didn't hear the spark. You then spot something in her testimony when given a choice. We choose there was lightning, and we tried to change the case, saying that if there was lightning, then it is possible that Doug was struck by lightning. Does that mean it was all an accident, nobody killed Doug? Well, not exactly. Payne actually counters my argument by saying that there are no lightning strikes near university, and to support the electrical wiring environment case, he presents a report from Ivy University, saying that there was a blackout at the pharmacology department at 2:55. Around the time Doug was killed due to severe cable, severed cable. The cables were very old, so the smallest bump could cause them to snap. So the student's testimony gets added to our code as well. Judge still wondering about something. What did make Doug touch the cable? When given a chance, present Phoenix Wright's profile. According to the report, there was a power outage at 5 p.m. and the autopsy says that Doug died at 3 p.m. If you look at the crime photo, Doug's umbrella is far from him, near a far pole, and if he landed on his umbrella when he fell, Doug could have landed away from the severed cable. So someone other than Phoenix might have killed Doug. Dahlia testifies again on what she witnessed and the 7th part 2. This is the truth as Feeney pushed him to ice. First time was into electrical port, that's when the cable broke. Dougie tried his best to run from him, but Feeney caught up and crashed into him from behind. Cable snapping and Dougie being electrocuted, it all occurred in less than a minute. So, begin our cross-examination. These were our statement, and press on the first statement. And with that, we actually get an achievement. So, do that, and then we present either the student's testimony or crime photo second. I think I presented crime photo second. On the 5th statement, but Feeney caught up and crashed in from behind pops up. And we look at the wristwatch. Yeah, it was the crime photo, because student's testimony also says the same thing, and wristwatch. The crime photo says the same. So, in the crime photo, if you look at the wristwatch, then it stopped at when Doug was electrocuted. Clock says 3:05, 10 minutes after the blackout. You now come to the conclusion of who killed Doug. When given the option, present Dahlia on Torn's profile. So what was she doing in those 10 minutes between the blackout and the shock? Doug to his doom. That's what she. So just then, Phoenix interrupts. He says Dahlia wouldn't ever do something like that. He was a simp. Roseburg arrives receiving the police report concerning the death of our boyfriend. He has a boyfriend as well. Okay, that's great. So we excuse Dahlia for murdering Doug and pinning the same crime to Phoenix. Dahlia says she would never do that, and she loves Phoenix so much, she would never do that. You request Dahlia to testify on how she met Phoenix, which Dahlia does. Her first statement is, I first met my darling Feeny 8 months ago. Second statement says, it's like we are destined to meet in this very courtroom basement, yada yada yada. It's weird. Third statement is the moment our eyes, oh my god, this is so cringe. My heart skipped a beat, and the fourth statement says we have been going out ever since that fateful day. So we begin a cross-exam. Press on the second statement, what exactly she was doing in courthouse. When given a chance, on pressing, and she'll answer a new statement. I've come to this courthouse to do some research for a paper I was writing. So we present a police report on that statement. According to the report, a crime occurred 8 months ago. A fellow attorney was poisoned, and Dahlia was listed as a prime suspect. Dahlia will respond to your claim with her final testimony. So, Dahlia's testimony to the poisoning. He says, I met the lawyer who was poisoned and discussed something in the cafeteria that day. I left my seat for just a moment and that's when it happened. From what I heard, it was liquid poison that is lethal at just not only that, I'd heard it was a very special kind of poison. You see, I'm innocent. I wouldn't even know where to get poison like that. Hold up. You realize this. I'm gonna get back to this. So, let's begin the cross-examination. So, at the fifth statement, we present Dog Swallow's profile. The dog is a pharmacologist as he has special chemicals in his lab. Without such a chemical, Dahlia would never have acquired such poison. Dahlia will now remind us that the poison needed 2 teaspoons to be lethal. So how did she manage to contain the poison? In the article, they couldn't find a weapon, so it is probably still lost. So we need to present evidence of how she managed to hide it. So we present Phoenix Wright's profile. Both Dahlia and Phoenix met on the same day of poisoning. Dahlia knew she had to hide the poison fast. She decides to give her necklace to Phoenix, who had nothing to do with the murder. Why? Well, if you look at the bottle, it could contain a small amount of liquid, such as 2 teaspoons of poison. Dahlia gave it to Phoenix disguised as a present. Suddenly, Phoenix blurts out with an objection. The reason he is doing this to protect Dahlia, of course, because he's madly in love with her. So we need to prove that that Dahlia doesn't love him back, and she was dating him for a reason. When given choices, tell Phoenix that it was because of the necklace. I remember what Phoenix said back in the defendant's lobby. Every time they dated, Dahlia would ask to please give it back. Yeah, that was a statement I omitted earlier. I should have actually told her on. But when they were dating, she gave the necklace to Phoenix, and then she also asked him to give it back. So yeah, that pretty much gives the sus away. Why the necklace? Why you would ask that gives the sus away? Is the necklace said poison in it, and it should be obvious that Dahlia would be called a criminal since she gave it to him, especially since Phoenix showed the present to everyone. At this point, Phoenix knocks you unconscious and attempts to run out of courtroom. So, it's time to solve the case. So we came about only to find that Phoenix took Dahlia's present, which is removed from the courtroom. Eventually, Phoenix comes back to stand. Where is the necklace? Well, Phoenix says he ate it. How did he even do that? Well, it seems a bottle could still have a poison in it, but it doesn't apparently, because Phoenix is still alive and well, and Payne argues that the bottle would never contain any poison at all. So he thinks that we are bringing out lies because we believe in Phoenix. This has his own life to his witnesses. So it looks like our claim has been thrown into gutter. But just then, Phoenix reveals more of a conversation he had with Doug. Doug told Phoenix some poison was stolen and he thinks Dahlia could have done it. So he rushed out of the crime scene, but has gotten worried and returned. We see Dahlia crouching next to his body. He was told from her not to tell this to anybody. But he does insist that Dahlia was innocent. Well, this actually helps us. So he explained to Dahlia's motive for stealing the poison she took to kill someone. When asked who, it is none other than Phoenix Wright. So Dahlia knew that if Phoenix kept the poison for not too long, it would be trouble, so she had to take drastic measures, even if it means leading him to this fate. So Dahlia will now reveal her evil side, and he says that Phoenix ate a necklace, so we have no reason to doubt her, and our only evidence is now out of picture. So we have to present that evidence, or our badge will be stripped. So to get a final proof, though, we actually present the Cold Killer X. So Cold Killer X is actually the thing that has poison in it. So either Dahlia is not so innocent because she was trying to kill Phoenix with using Cold Killer X, but Doug obviously did not want that, and so he was the one who actually took it away from Dahlia and said that she can't poison Phoenix like this. Well, we offered Dahlia still puts out some resistance, but we offer Dahlia the medicine, and well, she doesn't say that she has. She just gives up at this point. But Payne denies the medicine is poison, so we offer the medicine to Payne, and well, Payne responds by just losing his hair, literally, and That's the origin of how Payne lost all of his hairs. Well, the top half at least. Daria is arrested and she leaves with a smile, but the judge asks us how do we do each other, Dahlia and me, how to get Neo. And we says nothing, it has nothing to do with this case. And, well, Dahlia says it's not, looks like it isn't over yet. But in the end, Phoenix Wright is not guilty. Holy shit, what a case. That was actually pretty good. Well, that case literally was a starting point for this series, I would say. This, not series, but this game, this specific game. It was a good starting point. It just passed in a way on how Phoenix and Mia met, and it also showed a lot more characteristics on Mia and how she was a rookie lawyer back in the day as well, and 5 years later she's much better than she was, and obviously she got killed by Mr. White, Red White if I remember. And well, that was one of the great parts about this case in general. Great starting point. It was a good starting point in general. And now, going to move to the second case. The second case is kind of like a back case in all of the cases that are about to show up. Because like the second case, called the Stolen Turnabout, it's a great case, don't get me wrong, but in comparison to the other cases, it kind of goes mad. This is one of those cases where Phoenix Wright, Justice for All, had this one case not related to any of the other cases that you have actually played before. This, I think the next case after this, are the two cases which are just meh and doesn't like have any kind of thing going on. After all, yeah, like it doesn't have any kind of theme going on forward. Anyways, we'll move to the second, that is called none other than Stolen Turnabout. Well, this episode kicks off with a robbery. A couple of detectives, one of them should be pretty familiar to us. After all, he's a veteran of the series. They check on the safe. Apparently someone has attempted a robbery and it looks like security scared him off. Well, actually no, they didn't. The mysterious phantom thief masked Musk has taken a valuable item. The thief flies off and disappears into the moon. Now, one might ask, what is this valuable item they are speaking about? Well, actually, let's talk about it. So, we start off with Maya announcing he and Pearl are about to hit big time. So Pearl shows a poster at us and it looks like a sacred urn from Korean village. If you remember what is the sacred urn, it's in the previous game where Pearl puts it together and it's actually Amy's sacred urn, but it's actually like named I am because Pearl is still young and know how to like properly spell stuff. Anyways, yeah, that's basically what it is. So we are reluctant to go with them because obviously of presence. And we get the treasure exhibition poster added to our record. So we move on to session obviously, and we feel nostalgic and Maya says someone is waiting for us in the basement. Well, you might think who this is. None other than Adrian Andrews. Now, who is Adrian Andrews? Well, she was in the previous game as well. She called in Nickel Samurai case, which is the final case of the previous game if I remember correctly, and it was a freaking amazing case. Okay, you guys need to play it. Anyways, yeah, if we like pan to the right side, well, if we talk to Adrian Andrews, just about what she's doing there and whatnot, you guys can talk to her. But if we examine to the right side, we can find Amy Fey's golden statue. Examine. After examining that, the next day Maya arrives with terrible news. Well, Pearl turns on TV and we hear that there's been a treasure heist. The thief known as the renowned phantom thief Master Musk. Well, Maya says that it took place at Lordly Taylor and their most valuable treasure has been stolen. The sacred urn, apparently. We talk to Maya and we ask her about the sacred urn. Maya reminds us that the sacred urn was supposed to hold the spirit of Amy. Why does it say I am on it? We'll ask. Like I expel. Sacred urn obviously taken was broken in the previous game and put together by Pearl. So we ask Maya what to do, and Maya says that we as a thief. And well, we recall last year's incident as well, where Pearl accidentally broke it. But well, it is what it is. We moved to the main exhibition, and it looks like everything is the same as yesterday. We meet another familiar face, none other than Detective Dick Gumshoe himself. Yeah, Dick Gumshoe. So we asked him what happened. So apparently the sacred urn was stolen by Master Musk. And the urn was kept at the basement warehouse where an ace detective is currently investigating. So we ask about Master Musk. So the guy is Phantom Thief, then calling card when he is planning a heist. Persona 5 before Persona 5? Now the trilogy is obviously for PC, released in 2015, 2016, I think so. But the game itself is pretty old. And even if it's released in 2026, Persona 5 20 as well. I don't remember actually when Persona 5 released. Let me know. Anyways, Ace Detective is the next thing we can ask about to Gumshoe, and Gumshoe will tell us that Ace Detective had investigated all 4 of Musk's lost a heist. He managed to get the 4th stolen treasure back. So, calling card. Obviously, we ask about calling card as well. The picture in front is Master Musk's emblem, and so that is not revealed in public. And then we get what the picture in front, that is Musk's calling card. So basement warehouse, that's very Mucha next. The Ace Detective will introduce himself as look at me over there. He likes to use his magnifying glass from his right hand, likes to be show off. Also, his favorite catchphrase is worry. What does that even mean? I don't know. Okay, so let's talk to Atmi. So he's the Ace Detective. Atmi will say that he has been on Master Musk's heel since his first heist. He once returned one of the treasures that was stolen. So we considered a jewel on Atmi's ring, and he says it's a reward. So Musk, then we ask about them, and nothing new here. It's the same old story and stuff. So we'll ask him about the night of crime, and Atmi will reveal that he was called in 10 days before the calling card was received. He was called before the card came. That's apparently the case. It was Andrews that called in, apparently fearing something bad would happen, and it did. Others Atmi set its trap for Master Musk and waited alone without without calling help from a useless group of nincompoops. Exactly what he calls police. He is hiding in such a secret place that even the guards notice him. He waited at the entrance when no one came through. However, the sacred urn just disappeared. How is that even possible in the first? Admi wanted to let us investigate, so we present him the Musk's calling card, and this will make Admi change his mind and leave. He tells us to meet him in the office. So before we do examine stuff around. So when we examine a wooden box in the floor, Maya made it contain sacred ornament. Next we examine the shito on the floor, basically a sword on the floor. So we get that added up, which is apparently bent, and it was on Amy's hand, the statue apparently, but they're still lying there. And then you examine the computer, and it looks like it runs security cameras. We don't know how to bring up photos, but we do know how to print them out. So we get the security camera, which went off last night, and the camera data gets added. Finally, when we examine the statue, we notice something strange, and that's apparently that else. And Fey's statue will also be updated. Anyways, we move to the hall where Detective Gumshoe apparently is. And, well, there's a surprise for us. The Gumshoe gets a call, and the call says that the actual culprit is actually arrested, which is quite surprising. Like, who would just give themselves up? Okay. Anyways, we move to the detention center, and, well, it's time to talk to Ron the Elite. Ron the Elite is the character that we are defending, and he's definitely not a murderer. Just look at the guy. I don't think so he's a murderer. I don't think so he's gonna be a guy who's gonna plan murders. What the heck? Anyways, we ask him about Master Musk, and he says he is the Phantom Thief, and does it matter that does that mean he stole the urn? Well, Ron makes a request to talk to Desi, and we get a new conversation added to Desi. So we talk about Sacred Urn after that, though, because Desi can wait. And Ron will say he lost it, and what does that even mean? So we ask him about how did he lose it. So Ron doesn't know where he lost, but he was sure that he asked him. These are some weird ass conversations. We talk about Desi, and apparently Desir Delet was his wife, and she's at his hideout, which is apartment actually. Yeah, go to his hideout, which is his apartment. I'll just call it an apartment instead of hideout. We'll meet Desir Delete. So we talk to her and ask her about Ron. Desir says that Ron is deluded. She thinks the fact that Ron insisted that he stole the urn and turning himself in is just crazy for her. So we ask about Desir Delete herself. So she really likes to put some excitement in her life apparently. and she enjoys riding a motorbike in full throttle. Ron isn't the same type, but he does make up for it by making a ton of money that he receives. He spends a lot of money shopping, and Ron receives so much money because he's a security guard. Wait, what? Doesn't make any sense. Her name is Oscar about Night of Crime, and Desire says she got pulled over at the time of crime. Joanna got home at 3 in the morning, and she doesn't know about Ron as they weren't together when he was out. So she went home to find Ron asleep. It looks like she had an alibi. Anyways, it's obvious that she doesn't care about Ron, honestly, throughout the whole game. Anyways, we present Master Mask's profile, and Desire says that Ron is just a big fan of the Phantom Thief. I think that Ron is delusional, actually believing that he is Master Mask. So we talk about delusions, and Desire doesn't believe that Ron is actually Master Mask. He assumed the decoration is just fandom. Well, Desire requests that we send Ron a letter she wrote for him, and do that. We go to the detention center. We should present him the Desire wrote, and it'll also be removed from the record. So after reading it, Ron requests that we be his lawyer, and well, it doesn't matter whether you choose what you choose, as both will end up us. So after hearing will defend Ron, Pearl gets mad off. Maya following. Maya comes back and tells us that Pearl is at Wright & Co. and we move there. Pearl is there and isn't quite happy to talk. Talk to Maya about all the topics, so just understand about what happens. Pearl will apologize about early and will leave the office to look for evidence, so we move to the exhibition hall. We'll see Andrew panicking, but it's fine. We can talk about stuff. So, we talk to Andrews, and she talks about Demask's calling card. And Andrew tried to show the calling card to the police, but Annie stopped her, which makes it suspicious, actually. Anyways, the security after that, talk about that. Andrew says that she felt that the valuable, so she polished it. She also says that she left all of the security to me 5 days ago. Again, vicious. So, after all of this, we finally decided to take a stroll at detective agents. We ask about Night of Crime, and Admi says that Mask's first choice was Tear of Amanon. This is gonna be interesting because this is the only important part. That's so Sacred Urn. We asked about that. Admi says that Admi shows no interest in Urn, as he thinks it's just lure him to catch his prey. And then we asked Mask's motive. So it is strange how Demask managed to steal the urn while the ace detective is on watch. So how did he not know? How did he not know that the thief stole him? I was kind of blinded. I don't know why. Admi stays quiet. As a result, everything turns black and appear. For his Cyclops, please present the Magatama, and present the evidence along with it. So we choose the right answer, break it, wrong answer, or drops depending on the circumstance. So yeah, that's the thing that can happen. Anyways, we obviously present the Magatama, and we present the camera data, which according to camera data, the camera only went off once. Admin will say that the computer might have malfunctioned, but we suspect that he's hiding the fact that he didn't see the thief because he was unconscious. Admin wants proof, so we present Shito. There we go. Heart, the sword. Before the night of the crime, the sword was on a statue. The next day, he found and bent. The only explanation is that Atmi was knocked out cold, which makes the psych unlock broken. So, Demask's ammo, we ask him. Atmi finally admits that he was suddenly knocked out when he looked to the computer. The sword will be updated to the court record. It looks like Atmi never actually saw the thief, but Atmi shows one important evidence to us, the photo of the security camera that he took, which is definitely Demask. Anyways, Demask's reason is what we ask. Atmi suspects that Ron had a good reason. It is in the green envelope that is currently in the room. So we go to Demask's hideout and examine the envelope, which is a blackmail letter apparently. Interesting. Anyways, here comes Larry Butts. Larry Butts is a character that is very recurring. Character in the first game, second game, and now he's here in the third game. Anyways, Larry Butts, we asked him. Oh, well, he says he's a police officer right now, security guard to be exact right now. And we ask him, he says he doesn't trust women anymore. It turns out he was dumped once again. twice apparently, and looks like he's the same old Larry. So why did he come here, we ask? It looks like he found a wallet during night shift. Okay, and it seems wallet. Interesting. So he asks about wallet, and Larry says he found it around 1 in the morning last night. He said it wasn't here because one works there. There is actually a key card inside as well. We checked the key card. Present the key card to the here will reveal that the key card has a serial number that gains access to CEO's office. Important point to keep in mind when we case. So now we present the blackmail letter to Larry. After an issue we are blackmailing him. Larry will say he works at KB Security, and we ask about. Larry says it takes 30 minutes by car to reach KB Security, so it would take 1 hour to reach KB Security building back. If Ron was there at the time of crime, so he wouldn't have had enough time to steal the urn. After talking to our phone rings, and it's Pearl who says she's gotten lost, and she reveals she's at Atmy's place. Well, go to Atmy's place and there's a bag apparently. I wonder what's inside the bag. So Atmy comes back before we could check actually. He asks about tomorrow's trial, and Atmy says will say that he'll be taking the witness's stand. Not in that, but he'll be facing the new prosecutor named Godot. Godot is and I like it. That's all I'll say until we get to the end. Mask's identity is next thing we ask, and he says he'll be certain that death penalty, but you know that Ron is most likely not Mask. Wait, why would Ron deserve death penalty? I actually never paid attention to this. Now it makes sense. We'll talk about this later. Godot. Atmy will call this Godot the best prosecutor of the country. Then Miles assured acknowledges. Interesting. So we decided to wrap things up for today. Prosecutor, and this is gonna be a tough trial, but hey, it's Phoenix Wright, so yeah. So before trial, Maya arrives with the city photo, which will be added to court record. So I am not gonna talk much about what happens before trial, except for that, because that's the only evidence that we have. We have to write because this is a big case, and it's gonna take some time solving the case. So Gumshoe testifies first, and again, big talk about testimony in the first two things. But I'm gonna just run through it, and I'm gonna talk more about the case itself, because I think I'll take in too long if I don't talk about our main stuff and everything, right? So this case is quite interesting, I tell you that. First case I did talk about it because it was pretty short, and I think the 30 minutes per case is quite enough for me, and these are 5 cases, so this will be about 2.5 hours long. So that's why I wanted to just take my time talking about the case. This case was pretty good actually for what it was. It is not connected to the main storyline, but it's pretty good. God damn it, it's pretty good, and I like it. So obviously this case, our main victim has to be proven not guilty, right? And we know he isn't a Master Mask. I mean, he is Master Mask, but he isn't Master Mask that, because in the end we don't know what the urn or that is nature is, right? So the trial starts off, Gumshoe gives evidence, and things are looking glim, but also I love Godot, I'm not gonna lie, because the guy is a coffee drinking and has the coolest music ever, because he just drinks his coffee, man. It's very cool to me. I love it. Anyways, it turns out that I'll just give you a brief summary of what happens, alright? It turns out that Atmy is the one who is Master Mask. And we are like, wait, what? What? Atmy was the one all along? Really? That's the case? Really? Because we prove in the end that Atmy is the one who did it, because there was literally no one else. His wife is definitely not. So we prove that Atmy is the mask and he's Urn, because his wife shows up with the bag inside which the urn is. And then our main guy's like, you're the urn. Atmy's like, where's the evidence? And then you're like, oh, fingerprints. And he's like, oh shit, fingerprints. I'm just a clown in the end who clowned hard. That's basically. And should be the end, but it isn't actually. Because it seems that if Ron was in the CEO's building at that time, there was actually a murder in the CEO's building at that time. And that's that, apparently. Oh boy, the case gets wild from there, okay? So, after investigating all things, all the newspaper clippings, and stuff, and also knowing that the old hag from the previous two games is working there as well. It seems weird that how these characters, all of them, apparently are connected to each other in some way or other, and this case did not end with our victim being not guilty. And when I said it makes sense why Atme says, look at me, anyways, Atme says that, oh, I'll make sure that this guy gets death penalty. I'm pretty sure this guy gets death penalty, something like he said that. It makes sense because when you go into the fourth part of the trial, this guy gets, not the fourth part, the second trial part of the trial. Anyways, this guy gets into like crazy stuff, right? Where he's like talking about shit that happened in the previous trial, and you'll be like, wait, why is Atme in this? All of this? What does he even have? And they ask me that. Well, apparently Atme was the one whom what's his name? The security guy, head security guy who fired none than Ron. And Ron was fired because apparently he sold out security data which could go on thousands black market, which he got so much money, right? But when you look about it, Atme on the other hand, well, he knew about all of this, and so he used blackmailing stuff to get into Ron's head, and all these things that he planned out, right? All of the stuff that he planned out, apparently it was all so that he could use Ron and make all the heists happen while he's the high player, making sure that he could blackmail Ron constantly, all of this stuff, right? And on the other hand, the guy who was murdered, he actually came to know about true identity of Atme. His name is Look At Me. I brushed it off earlier. Yeah. But the guy who was like planning all this stuff came to know about Look At Me, and by the end of it, you see that Look At Me has lost it all, and he's like, wait, did I say it wrong? I think so. I said it wrong. Okay. So Atme was apparently the blackmailer. My bad. It wasn't Look At Me who blackmailed, but rather who was blackmailed, but he was the blackmailer. Basically blackmailed Ron, and he was like, why would he even try to like kill CEO, right? Well, it was pretty simple. I just realized something throughout all this. I was just like quietly thinking about it. Luke is just a maniac. Atme is just a maniac because he did not have anything about it. He didn't have any motive. Whoa, because I was going back and checking if he had any motives, right? Because all I could think about is Atme blackmailing Ron, and I was like, was there anything? And I was just like, no, there is nothing actually. But yeah, like Atme was blackmailing Ron, and Atme was getting blackmailed by Kevin. I think that is the best thing I could come up with, because throughout this I was just checking, and it's like there really isn't anything that makes sense other than that, right? Oh well, that's it is what it is. Yeah, like it just makes him a mean, honestly. Because oh well. Anyways, yeah, that was kind of a crazy case. This was one of the better cases that I have played. If not one of the best cases, it would have been one of the best cases actually. But there is so many cases that are connected to the story that are just so good to just in general have. Kind of crazy. Anyways, the case after this is even more crazy. Called Turnabout Recipe, or Recipe for Turnabout. That's what it's called. This is also a case currently of an old character, and that's none other than Maggie Bryant, which we gave in second part. It was our first case. This case is kind of crazy, and it gets very crazy, and I like it a lot. But Karen Mosky is kind of tired, so he'll be sleeping. This will be the day who will brush and won't have to think about convoluted study and stuff, right? Tired one. You might realize in the past, for the first hour of this video, it just feels like I am kind of tired. Yeah, okay, biker. Yeah, I'm pretty tired actually. It's night time by now, 1 a.m. sleep, because I'm not that good in it. Tomorrow morning though, I'll continue You guys will get the next 3 cases. Anyways, I'll talk about episode 3, 4, 5 tomorrow. This next day, Moscow. Boys won't even need to worry about it. And boom, it's the next stated. And we are about to talk about episode 3. You might be asking, well, who's the recurring character I was talking about previously? Because I'm pretty sure I was talking about a recurring character. If not, well, there's a recurring character, and that's none other than Maggie Bride, who appears in this game as well. She has basically left her job as a police officer and became a waitress. So what is this case about? Well, according to my script, it's accused of killing a computer programmer by poisoning. Maggie Bride is convicted after receiving a shoddy defense from an imposter posing as Phoenix Wright. It is not until 1 month later that Dick Gumshoe informs the real Phoenix Wright about Bride's predicament, setting a process for a do-over of the case. So, if it wasn't obvious that if the starting scene of this case is basically Phoenix Wright, getting into trouble because there was an impersonator who unfortunately gave Maggie a big, you'd say, sentence. And yeah, well, how does it start? It starts off basically about a month earlier, where a murder trial was in final stages. By the point, the judge was very sure of the facts of the case with conclusive testimony and evidence. The victim was alone at his table when he drank a cup of coffee poisoned by the defendant. The defendant denied this, claiming that there was a second man at victim's table who poisoned the coffee. Prosecutor Winston Payne, yes, Winston Payne out of all people, declared the case wrapped up, somehow finally defeating Phoenix Wright out of all people. The judge declared the defendant guilty and the court was adjourned. Now we moved a month later, and Detective Dick Gumshoe came to Wright & Co. office with a magazine saying that Wright has been trounced horribly in a poisoning case he had taken a month ago and demanded to know what happened. Wright, however, knew nothing at all about this incident and proceeded to explain to Gumshoe that the trial had probably been led by a fake Phoenix Wright. Gumshoe that demanded that Wright fix his mistake and went to request a retrial. So Wright and Maya then went to the detention center to meet the unfortunate defendant who had landed in this phony lawyer's hand. So, who was this unfortunate victim, you would ask? None other than Maggie Bride, who had 1 year previously been client of none other than our own Phoenix Wright. After explaining the current situation to her, Wright proceeded to ask about the details of her case. Maggie then had since last year became a waitress at a French restaurant called Tribulations. I don't know how to pronounce it. French people, don't kill me for that. Which had been led to this whole bust. She claimed it had started with 2 men drinking coffee at a table. One of the men had slipped some poison into other man's cup, and after the victim died from poisoned coffee, Bride had subsequently passed out from the shock. She told them that she had never seen the victim before. Bride went to say that no one else had seen that other man either. Everyone at her trial had testified that the victim was alone at the table the entire time. She then went on to say that the police had found some incriminating evidence in her pocket, and that is none other than a bottle of poison. However, since she had passed out, the killer could have slipped the poison in her pocket while she was out, and Bride said that she had taken the coffee to man. She had noticed a CD on a table as well, but she did not remember the title, other than the letters MC. Maya then asked about the killer, but all Bride could recall was a young Bride then showed Bride the magazine article on her trial and asked her about the fake Wright who represented her. Bride said that he had met her in the detention center following her arrest and had worked up and passionate about defending her. Wright wondered how she could have failed to identify the fake, having met the real Wright before. Bride then recalled a number of strange traits that the previous Wright, the phony Wright, had, and she didn't. And she knew that Phoenix Wright didn't have. But the fake did have Wright's signature suit and hairstyle. There also apparently been uncertainty in everyone else in the courtroom, but no one had spoken up about it. Wright and Maya assured Bride that she could get a retrial and vowed to catch the fake who had gotten Wright convicted for murder. Wright told them the crime scene's location to kick off their investigation. So, first investigation, we go to Tribulations, where we are greeted where we greeted with this flowery smell and no sign of people. Wright found a sports paper stuck behind a magazine rack with doodles on it. Most notably, MC Bomber. I don't know if there's any reference to this or anything like that. Like, is this a real life reference or not? Because I know MC Hammer was a thing, and I still like his songs, so like, I know that is a thing. But that's about it. I don't know if that's the reference for that MC Bomber. Or maybe MC Bomber could be another reference group or something that I don't know about. Let me know in the comments down below, because I'm pretty sure a lot of things are a reference to stuff, and it's based on puns of real life and everything. So yeah, let me know about it in the comments. I don't really know what this is all about, so I'm just asking. And the number 100,000 crossed out. Maya assumed that the number was an amount of money, and Wright discovered that the paper was dated from the day of murder. They returned to Bride to ask Bride about the paper they found. Bride replied that the restaurant didn't get newspapers, so Maya suggested that the customer had bought it. And Wright showed Bride the MC Bomber doodle. Bride remembered this as a name she saw on the CD. He suggested that the 100,000 drawn on the paper was a down payment record for a record deal. Wright deduced that the paper had belonged to the victim. Upon returning to Tribulations, they encountered an effeminate French man who introduced himself as the restaurant's owner. Seeing Maya and Wright looked fatigued, he gave Maya some bath oil and Wright some perfume. He recognized Wright from the previous trial and gave him his name, Gene Armstrong. Now, Gene Armstrong is really weird, I'll be honest with you, before I move on, because, I don't know. At first glance, you'd feel like this guy can do nothing, but, yeah, we'll get to that part. When Wright and Maya questioned Armstrong about his restaurant, the latter described the atmosphere and food as very good, in French of course, which I'm not going to imitate, but admitted that the restaurant was not as popular as he would prefer. Now here's the thing, right? Armstrong speaks French, but he sounds Germany. I'm not gonna lie, it does sound very Germanish. Is Germanish even a word? Germany is a word. Anyways, he added that losing Bride had left him short of labor and he had been running alone while he was for replacement. Bride then asked Armstrong about the Armstrong told him about the day of the murder. The victim had suddenly fallen ill due to poison in his coffee, which Bride had taken to him. Upon leaving the kitchen, Armstrong found the victim dead and Bride passed out. Armstrong then confirmed that the victim was alone and added that the customer in the restaurant at that time, an old man, had said the same thing. Three of them then discussed Bride after going over a past job. Armstrong stated that he wasn't surprised that Bride was the main suspect in this case. When she took the coffee to the victim, something happened, but he would not say what. I asked what the motive for the prosecution had for Bride, but three cyclops appeared for Armstrong's heart. Wright automatically reached for Magatama, only to discover it had disappeared. He assumed that it was nearby, he could see the cyclops. Wright then asked Armstrong to confirm once more at the dentist's table. Armstrong told him that he would have asked the old man himself to find the answer and directed him to Vitamin Square. The garden, well, not really the garden's park. The park is named Vitamin Square. You get the pun. The park behind the restaurant. There they have found the old man throwing seeds at pigeons. Looking around the area, they found a jobs magazine. Upon picking it up, the old man chastised them for picking up his rubbish and demanded he give it back to them. Wright declined. Wright tried to talk to the old man, but he was busy throwing seeds. And eventually, Wright deduced that he was a regular at the restaurant. Maya voiced Wright's question, but the old man responded by attacking the pigeons again. Why was he attacking the pigeons, by the way? Weird. Maya suspected that he was hiding something. Wright and Maya then headed back inside the restaurant and showed Armstrong the old man's job magazine. Armstrong took this to mean that Maya wanted to work as a waitress and hired her on the spot, taking her to his kitchen. Wright then headed to Criminal Affairs Department alone. Talked to Gumshoe. Gumshoe offered Wright all the help he needed and told him the retrial had been approved with Godot as a prosecutor. Again, I love Godot as a character and it builds well for the finale of the game. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Wright and Gumshoe talked about Bride and Wright discovered that the victim was a computer programmer, Glenn Elg, and that he wasn't a regular customer at Tribulations. Wright asked about Bride's motive, but Gumshoe was unable to help him. He told Wright that Bride was no liar, but her claim that another man was with Elg during the murder did contradict both of the testaments. Then there was the matter of the CD. Although Bride had talked about a CD, the police investigation had found it. They found a radio though, but the Right, they were explaining this contradiction. Wright showed Gumshoe the sports paper. Gumshoe seems to remember something about the name MC Bomber and asked to borrow the paper, intended to do a handwriting analysis of the scribbles. Gumshoe was also convinced that Armstrong was involved in the case somehow. Wright questioned him further, but Gumshoe told him to investigate Trespian himself and tell him about anything suspicious. Wright did so and briefly encountered a girl with her head bandaged and a dark aura. He then ran into Maya, who convinced him to have something to eat at the restaurant. After briefly talking about her new job, Maya convinced Wright to order a lunch set. Wright found the price to be rather high, but Maya ordered it regardless. Upon testing the food, however, both of them quickly discovered the other reason for the restaurant's unpopularity. Maya then offered to let Wright look around the kitchen. There, Wright found this magatama and among Armstrong's aromatherapy oil collection, a green bottle that differed in appearance from others and wasn't oil. I suggested that they take it with them. Now, here's the thing, right? That scene was pretty funny because when they taste the food, they're like, oh, now I realize why this restaurant is not popular, because it doesn't taste good. That's the funny part. So yeah, that whole conversation that it is pretty funny, and I genuinely had a laugh over there, not gonna lie. Wright then headed out to the park alone. The old man was gone, but he saw something else that caught his eye. Pink? What does that even mean? Okay, the weird language mean. A pink scooter with damaged mirrors, wheel guard, and light. He was then accosted by an extremely aggressive man with spiked hair similar to Wright's, who turned out to be on scooter's owner. The man vowed to get a group of lawyers to make Wright pay, and Wright then introduced himself. At this man, the man claimed that he was Phoenix Wright and quickly left. Wright wondered if he was a fake Wright and made a note about the scooter. The old man reappeared. He was hiding in the robbery. Now, armed with his magatama, Wright saw 3 blocks around the old man on asking again about his patronage at Trespian. He then returned to the criminal affairs, where Gumshoe told him that the handwriting analysis of the sports paper had been complete. The writing was Elg's, implying that he had taken the paper to a restaurant the day of the murder. Wright then showed Gumshoe the green bottle that he had taken from Trespian kitchen, and Gumshoe took it to analyze the content. Gumshoe then revealed that he had discovered Armstrong's secret. Because of the high cost and poor quality of the food, Trespian had never been popular, and so Armstrong has accumulated a debt of $500,000. That's a lot. Wright then turned to the park to question the old man. The old man claimed that he came to Trespian for the food, but Wright pointed out that the food was terrible and overpriced, and that no one in their right mind would eat there. The old man simply claimed that he was rich, and to him the food was cheap. However, the opposite was the case, as evident from the Jobs magazine. The old man then claimed that he went there for cappuccino and the free newspaper, but the only paper in the restaurant was a month old. The restaurant didn't have free newspapers. Wright then told the man the real reason for old man's baggy bride, or more specific, her outfit, breaking the last cycle. Old man admitted that Wright was right, and he referred himself as Victor Kudo, but refused to tell Wright anymore. Wright thought to bring Maya, dinner waitress, for the uniform to lose tongue, but the man found her too young to be appealing. He then channeled Maya, who proved much more attractive to Kudo, prompting him to talk. Kudo told Maya that Elg had definitely died before Pride got him. After taking a sip, he had collapsed dead. Kudo claimed to Maya that he enjoyed the restaurant very much, and then about his visits to the restaurant. Kudo said he enjoyed it but wanted to be wary of. The man was an ex-con with a habit of stealing from customers and had been arrested once. Kudo then gives Wright a note about Armstrong in the form of haiku poetry. Wright thanked Maya for her help, but Maya simply expressed the sketch panel for such a purpose. So, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. This guy looks like, well, not Kudo, Armstrong. He looks like a guy who wouldn't do jack shit. Well, he could do jack shit with you if you are an attractive man. But if you're somebody else, it doesn't look like he would do jack shit. But then again, when you come to know that he's an ex-con and he has stolen your magatama, he's stolen some other evidence and stolen from other wealth, he turn around and you start to suspect Armstrong. D, I think so, that's his name. Yeah. Wright returned to Trespian, break Armstrong's cyclops and retire for the day. Armstrong offered to tell them what happened on the day of murder. He stated the lottery was cause Elg had won $500,000 on the lot, but after he was killed, his ticket disappeared. Prosecution in the trial claimed that this was Bride's motive for committing the murder. Wright asked Armstrong why he didn't tell him about this earlier, and then deceased that Armstrong had taken the ticket. Armstrong denied being a thief, but Wright proved him wrong with kudos note about Armstrong's habit. Armstrong refused to give up and demanded more proof. Wright presented his magatama, which had turned up in the kitchen. At this point, Armstrong admitted he had kleptomaniac tendencies, but he insisted he had no reason to steal $500,000 doctor. Wright then pointed out that he had a loan for exactly this amount of giving him a good reason to steal. Wright had asked Armstrong how he knew Elg had $500,000 lottery ticket. Armstrong explained that Elg had been listening to the radio with an earpiece when he suddenly let out an excited outburst. Having won the lottery, Wright asked Armstrong if he had poisoned Elg, but Armstrong claimed he had only took one of Elg's ticket. Wright reprimanded Armstrong for doing so, thereby causing Wright's arrest, but Armstrong denied taking the winning ticket. Just then, Godot appeared. He had apparently come earlier for some coffee. Godot stated that while Armstrong had stolen one of Elg's tickets, the ticket was worthless. Wright asked where the winning ticket had gone, but Godot said he would answer the question to March's trial. Wright threw a kudos note and resolved not to let the bride suffer anymore. Whew, that was the first. Now it's time to go into the next stage. Trial began. The first session of the trial, it was a time for trial to begin, with Wright, Maya, and Maggie Bride waiting in defendant lobby number 2. Bride was unhappy that no one had corroborated her story. Just then, Gumshoe burst in check on Bride and urged her not to become too unhappy. He then told Wright to win the case or else he would try and have him arrested. He also urged Wright to expose any and all contradiction in his testimony. In the courtroom, there was a minor confusion as to whether the real Wright was defending, but Phoenix Wright insisted that he was a genuine article. Godot then stated that he intended to find out where he was facing an actual lawyer in the trial. Wright acknowledged that Godot hated him for some reason. Godot then called Dick Gumshoe to stand. Gumshoe first outlined the case, presenting the autopsy report. He then presented a floor plan of the restaurant showing Glenn Elg's possession. Oh, Glenn, not Dean. And showed how Bride had allegedly bought the poison cup of coffee. Upon taking a sip, Elg died almost immediately. At the time of crime, only Armstrong and Kudo were in the restaurant. Gumshoe then gave Elg was alone at his table when he was poisoned. It was radio. Traces of potassium cyanide was found in a coffee cup. He finished with Bride apparently having a motive. Wright pointed out that Bride's testimony differed from, but Godot maintained that her testimony conflicted with those of the witnesses. Wright suggested that the witness could have missed the other man. Wright mentioned, but Godot disapproved of this, presenting a photo of crime from Armstrong's view, clearly showing Elg's state. Wright asked about the poison traces. Gumshoe said that the poison was powder. Wright suggested that the poison was in some sugar, but Gumshoe replied that Elg had no sugar in his coffee. Wright then asked if Elg had drunk any coffee. Gumshoe jumped on this, but Godot told him if he had time to waste, he could present that piece. Gumshoe asked what the piece of evidence was, and Godot responded with throwing the cup of coffee on Phoenix Wright's head. It's funny because that scene will always get me no matter what. Gumshoe understood and presented Elg's coffee. There was a coffee stain on the cup, proving that Elg had drunk from it. Furthermore, the only prints on the cup were those of Bride and Elg. Bride then asked about Bride's motive. Gumshoe believed it has been exaggerated, but Godot warned that he would have always call another witness. And Gumshoe didn't keep to the facts. Gumshoe said that Bride's motive had apparently been $500,000 ticket. It had gone missing from the crime scene. Bride declared that the missing ticket did not implicate fine, but Godot then presented the ticket which has been found on Bride. The judge then announced that the case once again seemed clear to him. Bride had an opportunity to commit the crime. There was strong evidence suggesting that she had done it, and $500 lottery ticket is a credible motive. Godot then announced to wrap the case with one final piece of evidence. That is none other than Bride's apron, which she was wearing at the time of crime. It had coffee and a red substance spilled on it. Poison had been found in a pocket, and with only Bride's fingerprint on it. Oddly, Godot seemed to notice the coffee stain on the apron. The judge inquired about the red substance, believing it to be bloodstain, but Godot claimed that it wasn't one. Bride began to wonder why Godot couldn't see something as obvious as stain, but paid it no big deal. When Gumshoe stated that the stain was just ketchup. The judge asked Gumshoe to testify for crime scene. Kudo had reported that crime at 2:55 p.m., Bride had been found passed from the shock. Elg had no identification in it, but the police were able to figure out who it was quickly. Bride was searched and a lottery ticket and poison were found on her. Wright asked how the police had identified Elg. Gumshoe explained that he had a prescription bag with him, which police had used to discover his identity. Wright asked about the medicine, but Gumshoe said the bag was empty. Other gunfish testified. What did I just say? Gumfish? Other Gumshoe testified that nothing else was missing from the scene of the crime. Wright presented the prescription bag and asked Gumshoe if the officers recovered the medicine from the crime scene later. Gumshoe seemed happy that Wright had finally found a contradiction in his system, saying that Wright was too answered with no. The judge said a prescription bag wasn't mentioned in the last trial, and Gumshoe happily said that he must have been careless. Wright then claimed that the medicine in the bag then must have been the lethal poison itself. The judge ordered to code up with his gavel, then asked Godot about his opinion. It seemed then asked Wright to read the prescription bag. Wright read the name. New Year Clinic. Yeah, no, I can't read that. The judge asked what kind of illness was that. Godot said it was hardly an illness but rather a bitter war wound. He explained that the day before the crime, the victim found himself in a fight, taken a blow to the side of his head and ruptured his eardrum. And the medicine he was given was a cream that was to be applied topically inside his ear canal and not tested. But it also said that it was mentioned in the fine print of autopsy report that they found traces of the medication in the victim's ear. It proved that the victim had applied his medication at Tribulations. The judge said that the medication was irrelevant to the case after all, but Wright made a quick move and said if the victim had applied his medication at Tribulations, then the medicine should have been found at a restaurant. The judge then asked Godot if he had any other witnesses to testify. Godot, who seemed to have lost his cool now, didn't reply, but Gumshoe said that they had Victor Kudo ready to testify as witness. The judge declared that the court would adjourn for 10 minutes and they were the next witness. So, recess. Let's say recess for some reason. In the recess, Maya said that they're really close to failing, and Phoenix Wright agreed as well. Wright came in and said that he couldn't believe Detective Gumshoe, and that she couldn't believe, not he, couldn't believe Detective Gumshoe and how he betrayed them like that after he said he would help. He set her up. Wright tried to say that Gumshoe didn't mean to do that and he had his job to do as a detective, but Wright didn't want to hear it and said that he had gotten used to betrayal and lie, but this time it really hurt her. He said hated Gumshoe and didn't want to see him again. Oh boy, Gumshoe's time of his life. Anyways, we are into the second session of the trial. The trial resumed and Godot called the next witness, Victor Kudo. Kudo took the stand and told him his name. Talking about honor. Wright told Kudo that they only need his occupation. Kudo said he was from a family of kimono embroiderer, this kimono maker, and had worked at a burger joint, that he was currently unemployed. After being asked for his testify, Kudo testified that he had witnessed what he had witnessed. English is a hard language, boys. He said that the victim was reading a sports paper. Then the serving girl brought him a Java keynote after putting something in it. The victim took one sip from it collapsed. Then he claimed that the waitress that gave him the coffee was Bride. Defendant Wright asked Kudo to tell them more about the something that the waitress had put in the coffee. Kudo said that he had seen her putting white powder in the coffee for sure. Wright demanded that he had add that to the testimony. Wright then asked Kudo how he was sure the defendant was the one who put the white powder in the coffee, if he remembered something about her feature, saying that it was not enough for him to just remember the outfit. Kudo said that he remembered the other feature. The judge asked him to add it to his testimony. Kudo testified there was a ribbon in her hair and her apron caps were loose. Wright pressed him, said that he hadn't told her about the face. Kudo said that if the witness remembered the ribbon, then he should remember the face. Wright pressed further and said the features Kudo was describing with things people would see from the back. Wright then said Kudo had never seen the waitress from the front. Kudo denied it. The judge then asked Kudo to add what he saw from the front. Kudo testified there had been nothing that had caught his interest about her from the front. Wright revealed Kudo the ketchup-stained apron and asked if he had ever seen it before. Kudo answered that he didn't. He would have not forgotten something this as dirty as that. Wright then told him that this apron was the apron worn by the defendant in the day of the poisoning. But Cooter had never seen the waitress in front of him or would have recognized the apron. Cooter said it didn't change things since Bride was the only waitress there that day, and Cooter saw the waitress putting the poison in. He asked Cooter to testify what he remembered about the victim. A test of Cooter's memory. Cooter testified the victim was wearing a broken pair of spectacles. He had a newspaper in his right hand and was also listening to the wireless radio. Serving girl bought him the Javakino, which the victim then picked up with his cup with his free hand. Wright raised an objection regarding coffee cup. He said that Elg was holding a piece of paper with his right hand while drinking with his free hand, which made it his left. Due to the marks left by Elg's lips, it is indicated that he drunk it with his right hand. Cooter insisted the victim had drunk coffee with his left hand and asked to testify more. The judge refused, but could not agree to hear more. Cooter testified that the victim had been hearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs, that he kept fiddling with it all the time. Cooter insisted that the victim had used the same hand to pick up the coffee cup. The judge had then asked about the strange eyewear that the victim. Cooter explained the eyepiece Elg was wearing was actually HMD, a small computer monitor Elg used at work. Wright pointed out there was something really wrong about what Cooter just described. As revealed in court earlier, Elg had ruptured his left eardrum by his prescription, which meant the witness had seen the victim placing a earpiece over an ear with which he could not hear. Oh my god, so many years. Ooh. Combined with the previous contradiction regarding the coffee cup and only seeing the criminal with some bag, Cooter's testimony was useless. It looked like Phoenix had proven Cooter's memory to be shot and completely unreliable, a fact that made Cooter frustrated. The judge decided to adjourn the court for a day, however Cooter getting ungiven it. He wanted one more chance to prove himself. He was allowed to testify. Cooter stated that he wanted to stress that this might be nothing as he wasn't sure about himself. The young boy slumped over the table as soon as he took a sip of Javakino. He knocked the vase on his table right over, breaking it, getting a strip of cloth covering the table completely soaked. Wright pointed out that on the crime scene, the vase was still intact on Elg's table. Couldn't remember the vase was on his table, as he was the one who had knocked it over when he was startled upon seeing the victim collapse. He asked one more time for testimony, but the judge had the bailiff escort him from the courtroom. The judge announced that there would be more investigations into what happened that day, and the recent witness insisted on providing copies of his latest testimony. With that, he ended another. Holy shit, this is one long case, because we're going to go into investigation part 2 of the case. Phoenix Wright and Maya Fey in the Wright and Co. office when Phoenix asked Maya what she thought and decided to go to Maggie Bride and investigate Cooter's testimony. Wright and Maya went to Criminal Affairs Department where Gumshoe wasn't there. Everyone seemed in a strange atmosphere. They then went to the detention center to talk to Brown, but she questions that it was later. Wright and Maya went beyond. They found Gumshoe was listening to the radio. He seemed worked out and he was betting on something. Wright talked to him about his trial and Bride. After Maya told him what Bride said, Gumshoe said sad about it and started banging his head to the wall. Bride then asked him about the lunch special he was having. Gumshoe said it tasted really bad and he hardly even had enough money to buy it, but he hiding something. Bride then asked about a radio he was listening to. Gumshoe claimed that it was an exercise program and looked nervous, which made a psych lock appear. Gumshoe didn't want to tell what he was listening to. Wright presented victim's lottery. He was obviously listening to winning lottery numbers, wanting to win the lottery. Didn't get it. Psych lock was broken and Wright asked Gumshoe about the radio kit. Latter admitted that he had been listening to the lottery. Gumshoe told Wright that Elg worked in a place called Blue Screens Inc. Again gave Wright directions to after going to Blue Screens Inc. Wright and Maya greeted by a woman who introduced herself as Lisa Bassell, the company director. She allowed Wright and Maya to examine Elg's desk. Wright found some papers on the floor, all of which looked like losing horse tickets. He noticed Elg's calendar on his desk, and Maya pointed out that December 3, the day of murder, was marked out calendar saying meeting with the tiger. Wright then asked Bassell about Elg. She told that he was a genius, but 3 psychologs appeared. Wright then went back to Trespian's kitchen, and Maya saw Armstrong talking with a creepy girl Wright had seen on the previous day. It looked like Armstrong had promised her not to talk to anyone, and she seemed threatening him to say how much about to fire. She then took her leave. Wright asked Armstrong about the woman, but Armstrong didn't want to talk about it. Wright showed him their loan contract. Armstrong said that he needed a lot of money to pay his loan, but he kept harassing him before he finally gave in. He had no choice but to help them. Wright asked about the woman. Armstrong reveals she works at a loan bank called Tender Lender, from which he had borrowed $500,000. Twice asked about Tender Lender, Armstrong said the owner was known as a tiger, and that he had spiky hair just like Wright. Wright and Maya assumed they were close to finding the Wright's phony. Armstrong said Tender Lender was beyond Whitman Square, and the duo then went to Tender Lender to find the same woman they had seen earlier. Here they came across evidence that changed the course of the case dramatically. An exact replica of Wright's blue coat and a fake attorney's badge. Convinced the two that the tiger was a fake lawyer. They also found a copy of MC Bomber disc. Just then, an enraged Furio Tiger, Tigre, confronted the two, accusing them livid of knocking over his ashtray. But when the woman who Tiger addressed as Violetta admitted to do, he immediately softened up and left. While conversing with Violetta, she said Tigre had saved life for a Cyclops. Wright and Maya met Kudo again. He acknowledged that there was a period of time he had been out of the restaurant. Could Armstrong and the killer have done something up? A conversation in Bride made them more suspicious, since she said that she was actually another customer in the restaurant. A woman she described as having a casting life like Violetta. Wright talked to Crumshaw at the criminal affairs department. He said the MC Bomber disc that was a high potential computer virus that, due to its destructive nature, could sell millions on the black market, and that this mysterious Violetta woman is actually Viola Cadeverini. Shit, that's her name. The granddaughter of Bruto Cadeverini. I'm not taking a last name again. The head of the most powerful and dangerous family in the city. Knowing that this virus was a high-value asset and that Grand Elk was desperate for money, Wright also able to unlock Lisa Bassel's Cyclops, confirming that Elk owned Tiger a debt of $1,000. After unlocking Viola's Cyclops, Wright, her head manager, was resolved another accident several months prior. The Tiger was the cause of the accident when he had crashed his Viola's car. In order to protect himself from Viola's terrifying grandfather, Tiger had agreed to pay her $1 billion operation. Viola gave Wright her medical paper. At this point, Wright deduced that Tiger was a poisoner and a traitor, and was determined to stop him. He went to Tribulations, where he found Tiger and Armstrong. Proving that Armstrong was aligned with Tiger somehow, Tiger demanded Wright to return Viola's medical paper to him. Wright's official got him punched as Tiger was about to flee the scene with his own paper. She barged in and was able to save Wright and the papers. Wright is now up for an intense courtroom battle next day. Next day, in the lobby again, as Wright and Maya spoke with the bride about the case, Kamsha entered the defendant lobby with some good news. The greed bottle found at Tribulations contained medicine for use on first, meaning it was Elk's missing prescription. As for the fingerprints on the bottle, there had been a screw up on the sono and been done on it. Why would they up? I don't. And aren't you guys professional? Anyways, the trial begins. The retrial of Bride resumed, with the judge asking if there were inconsistencies between Kudo's description of the victim and the actual crime scene could be resolved. Earl claimed that this next system, Armstrong would be able to clarify everything. Armstrong testified that on the day of the crime, he was experimenting with the decor of the restaurant, and this included a large mirror between tables. Kudo could have actually seen the crime by looking at the mirror. Wright pointed that if that were the case, Elk would have to wear HMD over his right eye in order for it to be over the left eye in the mirror and fit with Kudo's testimony. HMD should appear in his right eye in the mirror and not his left eye. Kudo objected to the arguments, and the HMD left an impression on the social therapist. Armstrong asked to speak more about the mirror. Armstrong explained that the mirror was placed in the middle of the restaurant, so in order to see, the Kudo must have been sitting next to Elk's. After the incident, Armstrong had to move the mirror away from the Wright stated that this contradicted Kudo's testimony that he had knocked over a vase on his table. This crime scene in the photo depicted Elk's table and a table. The vase was seen still standing. Either Armstrong had lied about not moving anything else, or there had been with Kudo actually sitting across from Elk. Her explanation completely shot down. The judge asked what authorities was testimony. Wright suggested Kudo had actually witnessed someone pretending to be Elk getting poisoned. The poster had made a mistake by putting the earpiece over on the wrong ear. The reason for this act was to have Kudo see the waitress put poison in coffee, so Wright was a culprit. Kudo pointed out that if some sort of setup played out at Tribulations, Jeff should have witnessed it. The judge requested that Armstrong tell the court what actually happened that day. Armstrong claimed that the victim had entered the restaurant later. At the time, there had been no customer. Elg had yelled in joy of winning the lottery, which has followed by him getting poisoned. 5 minutes later, Armstrong insisted there had been no setup of any mass to arrive. Armstrong stated around 2 to 5 p.m. Wright revealed to the court that the billionaire radio show lasted. Elg could have been less than 20, meaning the Elg that witnessed the real challenge Wright's art. What had Wright suggested Elg's body? Armstrong confessed that he had been by and how Armstrong and Tiger how Armstrong back alone he had Pendleton. Armstrong admitted that Tiger had met the victim at Tribulations that depths. Did know why Elg had that he was to hide Elg and Bride in the judge declared Tiger could have come as witness. But it amount time recover, they would have to hear injected by saying Tiger in the community 13 minutes. So during recess, Wright asked Jamshu to footprints on the bodily gob back. Superior Tiger finally made started things off by saying he was busy for affected Alexander Tiger. Tiger denied it. Right object from the restaurant. Tiger going to his real. Tiger admitted to having gone to the restaurant, but still didn't. And Tiger said he was supposed to meet Elk there, but he was already dead by the time, and that he never actually gone inside the restaurant. Wright said that there was a partition in his view from the end, or he wouldn't have been able to see Elk's body. Wright also said that the Elk had Kudo had seen was in fact Tiger, but Kudo pointed out that Kudo had seen the waitress sprinkle in the if Elk Kudo saw was an imposter, that means that the waitress was an imposter. Wright answered that the waitress must have been Viola. I'm not going to say the surname. No. Tiger admitted to meeting with Glenn Elk, but poisoning him. Tiger said he was after the $100,000 that Elk. But Wright said that he was actually after MC Bomber wire was saved for Viola. Phoenix Wright explained what happened. A Fury Tiger had Viola in a car accident surgery to save her life. It had a cost of $1 million, and since Viola was the daughter of a sinister mob boss, Bruto Kada, Tiger's life was in. He had called it no need to pay for corporate. However, Elg had won the lottery debt, but not Tiger's. Desperate, Tiger had to kill him, stolen the bomber, and Tiger, along with Armstrong, big crime. Wright then showed the court Tiger's prize previous put it into Tiger had Elg. Judge siding with the prosecution, Wright did not have a right was 101. Judge ended Tiger's cross-examination. At that moment, Gumshoe Wright with fingerprint results from this bottle. During another Gumshoe, Wright knew that not bottle only became presented the bottle's potassium cyanide, poison that had killed Glenn L. Tiger laughed loudly at the crowd and made a sudden hush fell over the courtroom at this point. I love this scene, honestly. Tiger, oblivious to what he just said, what he said to break silence. Wright pointed out that Tiger had just described the bottle of poison, something he should have not known he had been the realizing what he had. Tiger shouted the lights shattered. During the blackout, Godot's mask was shown to him with three glowing red lights. Finding himself up off cough onto Wright's head, the lights turned back on. The judge stated that it was already tried before handing down not guilty verdict. Let me just tell you, this case is amazing. Let me just tell you aftermath, and then I'll back to what Maggie Bride was overjoyed to have her name cleared. Although Wright tried to tell her that it's Gumshoe, Bride was still mad about him testifying. How Phoenix gave her happily. Oh my god, that was like seriously, it's a crazy case. I love this case so much. This was so much different from the previous cases that we had. That's what I'm going to say about the next cases as well. The next case especially is a heavy case that I want to talk about, and we'll talk about right now. The turnabout beginnings, the rules that is other than the drug your trial is also the I think so. I might anyway. Let's get to it. So a scene of a confrontation was arranged. Also, this case I really hate because this case I had no choice. I'll be the IU chapter on biology because my file got corrupted. What happened was, so my game was saving, power cut caused the game to have corrupt. I had to fine. You know what? I'm not gonna play 4 chapters. I'll just unlock because it's fun to play once in a while, but not fun to play of time that you're playing the game. So yeah, this chapter off. Anyways, a scene of confrontation is shown. Uncle threatening the holding gunpoint. Sound of a gunshot is then heard. Phoenix Wright is shown in hospital bedroom. Very first case, very close, first class, charged with a Valerie. Now, if you'd heard the name Hawthorne yes, in the there's Dahlia Hawthorne, but if you remember right, was but there was something strange that happened. Anyways, we're gonna talk about the trial conversation. What happened? Defendant lobby. Mia Fey was met with her client. Insisted that he had been convicted at 5 years. 2 days previously, he had escaped from a police van when it crashed. In the interval of 8 hours that it had taken to reach police woman, Pauls admitted that she escaped and that he never falls to Fey when Diego Armando, a lawyer who worked along. This Diego Armando, I wonder if Fey was surprised. Co-counsel Marvin Grossberg paid and reflect although every except the child, believing that her client was trying, which he had been accused. I mean, he looks dangerous, but my dude was like crying and shit. I don't think he did anything. Prosecuting attorney turned out to be Miles Edgewood. Also, it is for so it is Miles. His opening statement he calls for he had been sent to extortion. His victim had only been 14 years more into rape. The subsequent trial had been very long, decisive evidence. The testimony of an eyewitness, Detective Valerie Hawthorne, captured the victim in the current murder trial. Testimony had ultimately decided false. Voted for a murder. The judge was ready to declare a word by fate. He demanded to hear more of the testimony. Detective Jamshu was called to explain that he was the home detective and had matched half a year. Revealed Hawthorne had stabbed in the back with the cause of the blood loss. The scene of the crime was dusky. Falls had ripped him. After he had stabbed her, it had been initially Hawthorne actual bridge itself. Judged at the blood was found. However, the judge then ordered Gumshoe State Hawthorne now basket. This could be proven by the fact that she had left desk 4:30 p.m. during war for identification and that bridge. Gumshoe held a special the same bridge first crime. Gumshoe then went on to explain that Falls had starved from a couple that he had then used travel to escape after murder Hawthorne. He had used a photograph of a trunk was being discovered still in the back, but this could not be as revealed in front of her. For a reason, Falls had gotten what she also noticed that our Edgewood was already found his car presented in. Although the scarf was not exactly Edgewood that good evidence, Falls and Hawthorne had husky. In addition, he actually was heard during Gumshoe's next to surprise the judge inquired by the witness. Gumshoe replied, how the witness Falls had pushed scarves and Gumshoe went to the light drizzle that had occurred on that. It was not exactly clear to what the Hawthorne had been wearing at that. Edgewood used the scarf had not been. However, Fey argued that Hawthorne had. For the crimes, Edgewood Fey, surface of the bridge, Edgewood finally admitted as added there were only Fey began to understand war was a chance. The judge agreed with the force. He had mean photos of wildfire. Wildfire? Okay, I guess wildfire. I wanted to say wildflowers because that's what's written here, but I said wildfire. That works as well. When she had happened to see Falls and Hawthorne standing on the they had suddenly begun to fight, and that was when she had taken the photograph before going to phone. They immediately saw the flaw in a test. The photo that she had taken only showed Falls and Hawthorne facing each other fighting. Foster then claimed that although she had seen them fighting, her camera had run out of film for being able to take the picture. Last picture taken, Edge stated that he had already checked the camera and verified this. All the photos were the one admitted evidence was lots of Foster among flowers. They wondered who had actually captured the shots, the photos of Foster's camera contained an timer that she could set. The judge ordered the testimony to continue and testify that after the fight, but he had chased her and stabbed after about 10 years. Favors another object asking that it was impossible for Hawthorne to turn around and run because had been collapsed at which Hawthorne standing. However, Edgewood informed the court that the map had been created. The bridge was very old, quite possibly after Falls had carried out the murder. The bridge might have not broken at the Foster's photo. Also inconclusive state of the bridge was Foster wrong. Foster continued that after stabbing, Falls had picked up, presumably to cover up. They argued that of the body, Falls had already allegedly once before, but throwing it river. No need for the killer to move the body to court. Edgewood replied that the body had been found in the trunk of the car nonetheless. Foster's testimony. Next, Foster testified Falls had broken in face of multiple discrepant statement from where Foster had claimed standing. She could never have been able to the car. The high outcropping of rock was directly in the diagram of Falls, with Edgewood attempting to attribute traps in the map, and the traps had which Foster claimed the judge agreed. At this point, however, Armando asked Foster how she knew the trunk had broken in. This was definitely not a fact that had a reply that she had been scratch marked. Checking the photo on the corpse, the judge takes scratch marks mentioned. Fey easily counted and not been able to far from where she scratch marked on the locked trunk. Until she had placed the body in the trunk. Fey pushed onto the theory. Foster was the real murderer. He had forced the trunk open in order to hide the body with it. Since the car had been stolen, but was a red light, while it was at red light, Falls already had the possession of the. There would have no been for him to have broken into the car. Edgeworth and then reminded if the time of it had been taken, it would not have been possible for her to commit. Fey, however, remembered that the camera had timer. It could easily have been set up for her to take a photo of Falls and Horn being there. Edgeworth asked whether Fey was implying Foster had been. Fey replied in affirmative, and I grabbed the Valerie Horton who Falls was analyst. Fey pressed on and stated that Foster had already killed Horton, but Foster had proceeded to disguise her Horton and Falls as proven earlier by Scott. Falls had forgotten Horton's and had Foster as it identification. Falls had asked talk of the Falls, Fey and Armand wondering if the judge decided to call defensive prosecution covered. So, and then Fey met her was now confident good Foster was. Our Fey still had more to suggested that they try and find out more about Foster as well as the incident that Falls by fear. Then the question Falls Fey's had his girlfriend Dahlia Hawthorne, very weird because that means that Falls is a pedophile technically. Just what 25 years old and Dahlia Hawthorne 14 5 years. He was 14. Yes, kinda. Yeah. Dahlia and Valerie were both brothers to a rich jeweler. Yeah, and Falls had come. Falls would pretend to get Dahlia and dollars ransom. Exchange with Valerie and Simon. The hand three would split the money. However, at Dusky Bridge, Valerie had betrayed Falls, but Dahlia had proceeded to when he had come to. Falls had died and 5 years he had won by Valerie died, and when he had no found out she find her wife. His wife called her rude, but had forgotten what she Armand then proceeded to ask what happened to Falls. His not know had been Dahlia's black pen for her body nor diamond had recovered. Session Edgeworth and Foster challenged Fey hadn't just saying that she had been out of control. It's possible for Valerie Horton and Falls. Lord, whatever. He was so thankful that scarf on it. At this, Fey presented Foster's scarf was not white at all. It was surprising that fight. Proceeded. He concluded that even was considered top secret evidence that its in contents publicly. Foster had known exactly what a note had said. Pressing for Fey declared that two of the three Falls and Valerie Horton had one person was the person's identity identified Dahlia. Edgeworth commented that Fey's Terry Falls had been of Horton years ago, but Fey was declared that Dahlia Horton but had simple identity. Edgeworth, however, had known Foster had chosen because he had decided to implement it. Fey, with some help from argued that Dahlia's book and produced the note Dahlia had written. He had planned to tell what happened on the bridge 5 years ago. In order to prevent Dahlia, Fey demanded that Horton testify about within 5 years ago. Surely, though the court killing for Dahlia testified, Falls had Fey argued it possible if he had really pushed her bedrock. Edgeworth suggested Horton higher back bridge and the 40 feet. A relatively small point Edgeworth Dahlia had fallen from the side of the back end. However, Fey was full of confidence about him. Both taken by Dahlia 5-foot high wires on both. Falls also could not up and throw Dahlia off. He had been shot in the right gun had. Fey concluded Dahlia had left out the bridge eventually determined to keep all the money diamond for. However, it was not only Dahlia. Her sister had also. However, Valerie had Fleming dead for a crime and for 5 years she finally told that had more balance of Dahlia then spoke up. There was any political claims that it would have been impossible to, but after suggestion by Armand case, his testimony for the post Valerie's 10 years old, very false. Once on the stand, he is convinced Valerie, Judge Valerie or Dahlia, that our Falls seems to concentrate focus entirely on Dahlia. He asked if Dahlia had betrayed Dahlia was something. He finished by stating that her life was in. The judge again asked him to testify. Falls having no water. Armand Falls testified that he had met an determined to protect Dahlia. He also claimed, but Fey exposed that this is lighting the bridge foot. The person who had arrived for was at the Falls that admitted arrived, but left the scene near 15 minutes. Falls was 5 years ago. Dahlia had loved each other, and they concluded time gap would at this point Falls began to cough up blood. They had explained that as part of promise that he and Dahlia had that if one had faith in other bottle of placed admit that faith in Dahlia had so he drunk the poison from Edgeworth demanded trial be blanket Armand. Falls slumped over while Dahlia smiled. Fey recounted that trial had so suddenly and tragically, but all that of a young prosecute. So, only one person, Armando, throughout the trial had calm and collected. Tried to calm add on. Fey blamed Armando to rip in his coffee mug better than. Ooh. I also talk about the after going through the record of Paul's trial, I commented that no matter how tough the case, how bitter the memories, over time they would always fade until trial and forgotten. Recall that 1 year after that case, had found Dahlia Horton had only been that he had paid for a crime. Dahlia also held a perfectly angelic smile when she had been convicted. 5 years since the encounter, Dahlia had happened recently. That had made him back to the. He had thought about back then that it was all over, but I've never been more. This case, alright, it's an amazing. Oh boy. Okay, I wanted to talk about this case anyways. What makes this case special? It's just the fact that Dahlia is such a menacing villain. Like, yeah, we had Manfred Karma as a main villain. We also had the guy, the nickel samurai guy, right? We had these villains in the previous game, but nothing came close to Dahlia because she was pretty good as a villain, honestly. But she's first chapter player as Mia, you see her again for the second time, and you are like, oh, okay, Mia lost her first case, and she couldn't defend somebody, but you never knew that the first case victim died. Terry Falls just comes out of nowhere because first case says that the victim is a prosecutor. The one she killed was a prosecutor. I'm like, wait, what? Why did the guy in the stand die then? It's so weird because I don't know what does that mean that Armando was the one who had killed? I don't know. We'll only know in the next episode because the next episode is we can talk about it. This is most probably my favorite one out of all the episodes that I've played so far. Literally all of them. So yeah, this is also the longest I think out of all of them. So yeah, let's talk about episode 5. This is the next episode. Bridge to Turnabout. Get ready. Long ride. This one is a long ride. And when I say it's a long ride, it's super long. Oh boy. It's a big case. I'll try to make it as short as it's a big case. It's gonna take an hour to just explain what happens. So, Mia Fey and Maya Fey showed Phoenix an article from Occult magazine. Yes, that's what it's called. Magazine. It featured Hazakura temple and asked him Maya planned to train her spirit channeling by using the temple's special core. Wright at first flatly refused, then he saw someone who was identical to none other than Dahlia Horton, who was serving a prison sentence for past crimes. Baffled, Wright suddenly explained them, if only uncover the mystery behind this woman's. The next day, upon arriving, Bikini, that's the name of the head nun, Bikini, welcomed the trio. In the main hall, they met children's book author Ellis Euxnem, who seems oddly familiar. Well, we'll get to that. Who happened to be Pearl's favorite author. Pearl was overjoyed to meet her idol and was even more so when the author invited her to read a picture book together at night. Checking out the mountains, various local Wright met and had our own buddy Larry Botts, claimed to have become an apprentice of Euxnem and had even changed his name to Loris Euxnem. Just Larry thing. Wright and Maya then braved the old dusky bridge to visit the inn. There they found an old school picture of Mystic Maya's mother in the mouth rain channeling. Then met the other temple nun, Iris. With both Wright and Iris openly shocked each other, Iris left to prepare dinner for dinner at the main hall consisted of roast chicken, gravy, and mashed potatoes. Just before heading off to the inner temple with Maya for special course training, Bikini requested that Iris ring the bell at 10 p.m. As Wright began to slowly drift asleep, he felt the need to go to the bathroom. He met Euxnem on the way, who asked him if he had seen. He told Wright that Pearl hadn't come to read with her and was missing, and then headed out to find her. Wright then met Iris in the main hall and tried to take opportunity to ask a few questions. Iris excused herself to ring the bells and paid Wright a good night, giving her hood as a gift. Wright wondered how Iris said good night only for 5 Cyclops to appear guarding his. Now, I'll mention this is the only chapter in which some of the Cyclops don't get broken. But yeah. At 11:06 p.m. in this room, Wright heard a scream. Rushing outside to the courtyard, he saw Ellis Euxnem's body, which had been stabbed with that sword, the sword that we had seen in the earlier chapters, the one that was that the Amy statue was holding. In his haste, he stepped on Bikini's stomach, waking her. Said she had screamed and passed out from the side of the body. Although Bikini told him to call the police, Wright had not brought his cell phone with him, forcing him to go to the phone near Dusky Bridge. Upon arriving at the bridge at 11:80, Wright saw that it was ablaze. Seeing Butts, Wright told him to call the police about the murder, and fearfully that killer may have escaped to the inner temple where Maya was alone. Wright started to cross the burning bridge. However, it gave beneath his, plunging him into the icy sky and fast-flowing river. Meanwhile, Miles Edgewood, who was abroad at that time, got a phone call from Butts at late night. Butts frantically told him that Wright's life was in danger and that he might already be dead. Edgewood assured his childhood friend that he would come soon as he could, and immediately chartered a private jet to come to see his friend's aid. 2 days later, Edgewood arrived at after by afternoon. He told Butts that he had found everything currently known about the case and visited Wright in the hospital. Wright and Bikini had found Duke's body in the yard, and Iris was the suspect. Wright would need about 2 days of bed rest, and so he had given Edgewood his attorney's badge at Magatama, implying that he wanted Edgewood to defend Iris in his stead. Butts assured him that no one in the court would notice anything peculiar. Someone else had recently fooled the court with a fake proper badge. So the investigation begins at the detention center, where Edgewood questions Iris on the events leading up to the board. Although he had that they had met somewhere before, told him that it must have just be his imagination. She told her acting attorney that had rung the temple's light out bell at 10 p.m. but had later returned to her room instead of going to the temple's waiting hall because she was frightened. When Iris was pressed about this, 2 Cyclops appeared, marking Edgewood's first experience. Before leaving, Edgewood asked Iris if Wright, saying that she seemed very concerned about her. Iris confessed that she had met Wright 5 years. He had deceived him and decided that it was best if he never saw her. Edgewood agreed to defend Iris in the court on the condition that she told Wright that after the case was over. Edgewood went to Eagle Mountain and met Detective Gumshoe at Dusky Bridge. Gumshoe told him that the bridge had caught fire, being struck by lightning, and gave a weather report showing the exact time that this had occurred. Edgewood in return told him about suspicions that he had seen Iris, but Gumshoe said the police had done a database search of fingerprints and found nothing. Nothing was known about Elise Duke's background. As for the crime, it had been witnessed by the temple's leading to Iris's arrest. Gumshoe gave Edgewood the victim's autopsy report, which placed the time of death between 10 p.m. The body was also covered in indicating it had fallen about 10 feet. At the gate of Harakusa temple, Edgewood met Quats again and asked him what he was doing on the night of crime. Quats said he didn't remember, but 3 Cyclops appeared. Inside the temple, Edgewood asked Sister Bikini about the night of crime. After dinner, she had left at 9 p.m. to take Maya to the inn for training. There she had met Iris because of her bad back. Bikini had returned to Harakusa temple for a bath, and at around 11 p.m. saw Iris stabbing Duke's name with that sword in the temple courtyard. Maya was now, yes, I said that sword, I'm not saying that name, it's hard. Maya was now trapped on the other side due to the bridge burning out, and Pearl, who had last been seen with Duke's name, had been missing since the last night of murder. Edgewood found a letter addressed to Iris near the altar, telling her to be at Heavenly Hall at 10 p.m. or else the secret would be exposed. So you also will notice that there are Cyclops appearing everywhere, and like I said, some of the Cyclops won't be involved. Edgewood then returned to detention, believing the letter was the reason Iris was frightened. He deduced that the person she didn't want her secret revealed to was Wright, breaking a Cyclops. He went to Heavenly Hall next to look for a mysterious black mirror there. Bart said that he had been in his room at Hazakura Temple, wrong with me, when sometime about after 10 p.m. he saw lightning strike Dusky Bridge. However, the map of the temple contradicted them. It was impossible to see the bridge from Maine. Edgewood deduced that Butts had really been Heavenly Hall, waiting for Iris after sending her. The secret he had threatened to expose was a love between him and Iris that was all in his head. Butts' ineptitude at letter writing was that his love letter ended up looking like a blackmail letter. Butts' Cyclops were broken. However, he also meant something incredible, and when asked what it was, 5 Cyclops. Edgewood decided he would have just the truth out of Butts. And next day, Edgewood arranged for a judge from his debut trial to order trial, as he would not recognize. He also asked Francisca Ward Karma to prosecute since she would only care about getting chance to beat. One karma initially expected to face Wright, but upon finding Edgewood on the defense's bench instead, he was just as happy to crush his or her adoptive brother. Yeah, she's smaller than him. As expected, one karma called Bikini as the first witness. Bikini testified that she was supposed to stay in a temple, but her bad back was causing her pain, so she left Iris with Maya while she went back to Hazakura temple for a hot bath. Edgewood objected this, pointing out that Iris had said she never went to the inner temple. Although one karma retorted that Iris was simply lying, Edgewood claimed that if her intention was to lie, it would have made more sense to say that she went to the inner temple, as it gave her a much better alibi. The judge called Bikini's memory question but told her to continue her testimony. Bikini recalled that when Iris met her at the inner temple, she was dressed exactly like she was at the dinner. But Edward presented Iris's hooded response. He had given it right at dinner, and so therefore could not have been wearing it when she was in a temple. One karma replied that she could have just worn a spare hood. Bikini had spares. The judge told Bikini to testify about her movements around her after her bath. Bikini testified that that's so weird saying Bikini over and over again. Bikini testified that she heard a noise from the courtyard, which led to her see Iris stabbing Duke's nymph with the sword. She believed that the stabbing must have occurred after Duke's nymph fell from her room, but Edward pointed out that the autopsy report said she was pushed after being stabbed, proving that the scene Bikini witnessed did not happen. The judge suggested that Duke's nymph was killed in her room, which one karma agreed. But Edward questioned if there was any sign of struggle between there or any bloodstains. After the judge questioned her about it, she replied saying that there was no traces of blood found in the victim's room. One karma reminded the judge that very little blood is lost upon insertion of blade, and the victim loses the most blood when blade is removed. If the blades were not removed, Edward agreed, saying it would have. Thus, one karma grabbed and pushed out of the window. The judge asked for a clearer testimony. She testified that she didn't actually see Iris stab Duke's nymph, but the sword was already in the blade. After a further inquiry by Edgeworth, Bikini added that she saw Iris with the sword, which was in the victim to the hilt, being pulled out smoothly. Edgeworth objected, pointing out that it would be impossible for Iris to stab Duke's nymph to the hilt with the sword, as this would require far more physical strength than she had. Although one karma objected to this as merely assumed she was not strong enough, Edgeworth also stated that it would have been impossible for a smooth way to remove the blade out of Duke's nymph body, owing it to 7 branches. Furthermore, the wound was too large for the sword to stop the bleeding completely, and there was only blood on the tip of the sword. Edgeworth concluded that the sword was not a murder weapon, but merely part of the state. However, one karma told him that in nothing, Bikini saw Iris stab in the sword-like object. Edgeworth responded by asking the real murder weapon had disappearance, no sword-like found at Hazakura temple. Bikini suggested the killer could have disposed of a real weapon by tossing it into the river. This could be done quickly with a snowmobile, which was capable of making a trip from Hazakura to Dusky Bridge in 5 minutes. Edgeworth presented a photograph of snowmobile tracks which contradicting this, as the only one of the tracks were visible in the photo. If someone had ridden a snowmobile to Dusky Bridge and back, there should have been 2 tracks. One karma explained that it had been snowing on a more, and as the tracks leading to the bridge could have been erased by snowfall. Edgeworth replied this was impossible, as the data showed that snow stopped falling at 10:50, which was before Bikini had crime, and therefore no tracks after the crime could have been erased. One karma suggested that the weather report might have been inaccurate, but Edgeworth presented another photo named victim, Elise Duke's nymph. There's no snow on top of her body, proving the snowfall had already stopped when the murder took place. The only apparent explanation was that someone had gone to Dusky Bridge with the snowmobile while it was still snowing and returned to Hazakura temple after the snow stopped. One karma stated that it could only have been Iris, and she had the only key to the snowmobile. However, Bikini pointed out after leaving Iris at the inner temple, she hadn't seen the snowmobile at Dusky Bridge on her way back, but had seen it at Hazakura temple. They had asked if there was another witness who might have been at the snowmobile at Bridge, remembering that Butts had been wandering around Dusky Bridge at that night, and he had mentioned seeing something incredible. Edgeworth asked to have him summoned as a witness. During recess, Edgeworth met Iris in defendant lobby. She restated her earlier testimony that she had never gone to in a temple. despite Bikini claim met her there. He also confirmed that she had been the one who had used the snowmobile to go to Dusky Bridge, but said she could not say why, at least not until Maya's safety has been confirmed. And 5 Cyclops appeared again. Edgewood asked Iris if she had killed Ellis Tuxnam, which again she denied. Since no Cyclops appeared, he reasoned that she must be telling truth. Court turns and Larry Butts was summoned to the stand. He was asked to testify about what he had seen. Butts claimed to have walked to Dusky Bridge several times, but not seen the snowmobile or met anyone there. Edgeworth said that this was a lie since Butts had run right by the bridge that night. Resuming his testimony, Butts stated that he lightning strike from the shack and gone there shortly after, where he had immediately run into Wright. Edgeworth pointed out that there was another contradiction. Lightning struck at the bridge at 10:45 p.m. meaning Butts would have arrived there around 11 p.m. at the latest. However, 11 p.m. was when Bikini had Iris stabbing Duke, at which Wright was Hazakura, meaning that Butts could not have encountered him at the bridge. One Karama argued that Bikini had stated the time of murder could simply be around 11. Edgeworth had further proved that Wright had not arrived at the bridge before 11 p.m. The weather report showed that the bridge had been burning for about 30 minutes, or until 11:50, and the fire had already almost died when Wright had arrived. Convinced that Butts was still not telling, Edward asked what he had been doing the whole. Butts admitted about seeing the burning bridge he had given into urge to draw a picture of it. Knowing that Butts had claimed to have something incredible that night, Edward asked him to submit the drawing he had made to the Everyone's shock, the drawing seemed to depict a flying figure over the burning bridge. Butts claimed that it was Iris. He had seen her fly the night, at least 30 feet above the bridge, with her hood fluttering in the wind. Edgeworth said Iris had given her hood to Wright, or the person Butts had seen flying could not have been her. Butts said it would definitely prove that it would be Iris after going to Dusky Bridge for her. He had definite I just read it. He had found a crystal spear half buried in snow and claimed that Iris was the only one who could have lost his crystal spear that night. I should point out that someone else could have also lost the crystal spear. Ellis Tuxnam. There had originally been a spear on her staff, but it had disappeared after the war. One Karma tried to dismiss Butts' testimony, saying that the idea of flying is ridiculous, but Edgewood argued that the important thing is that this crystal spear had been found. This proved that Dukes had left Azakura temple that night, which could change everything assumed about the case. It was then suggested by One Karma that the killer, not the victim, could have dropped the spear, but Edward pointed out that the spear had been half covered in snow. Since the snowfall had stopped by the time Bacon in the courtyard, the spear must have been dropped at Dusky Bridge before then. Snowmobile have used the body to Azakura. So what the post had taken. Also, there is the question of why the body unresolved. The judge declared that the case required further investigation, and the trial ended for the day. So we began an investigation, and Phoenix Wright, having recovered enough from his ordeal to return his work, met Miles Edgeworth and Dusky and took over the defense team station. To Edgeworth's relief, the Gumshoe told Wright that he had already tried to repair the bridge. He didn't finish as soon as he promised to Wright that he would be the first to know what happened. Along the way, Azakura Temple, Wright met Francesca Von Karma at the main gate. She greeted him and made clear once again her intentions of finally defeating him. After the conversation, Wright met Bikini, who told him that Pearl had gone missing. She insisted that she had met Iris, and contradicting the latter's testimony that she had not left her room. Wright noticed that Bikini referred to Tuxnam as Miss Ellis, an honorific used to address members of the Fey clan. You see where? And Wright asked Bikini about Cyclops. Looking around the courtyard, Gumshoe arrived to tell them the bridge had been repaired. One Karma reappeared. To Gumshoe's horror, and told Wright that she would accompany him. Edgeworth joined them at the bridge. Group journeyed across the inner together. Upon arriving, they found Pearl crying by herself, and they immediately asked about Maya. Pearl told them that she was worried about Maya, which is why she had been on this side. Door onto the sacred cavern within the training hall where Maya was expected to be was sealed with a trick lock, which resembled a physical psych lock, and Misty's picture scroll was smeared with gravy. Goddard then showed up, telling One Karma that he would be taken over as prosecutor for the case. He appeared angry at Wright, telling him that he had set something in motion he would never be able to undo. Wright talked to him and learned the truth about Godot's mask. Without it, he could not see. Godot claimed to have lost his sight when he died. Now I see who the prosecutor who died could be. When Wright asked what he meant by that, Godot told him that he should know who had killed him. Wright had the impression that he knew what Godot was talking about. He also had the impression that his charge against Wright appeared to be related to the death of Mia Fey. Godot told Wright that Maya was likely tied or trapped inside the sacred cavern in the training hall. The trick lock on the door to cavern could only be removed by the same person who had set it, namely Iris. He had already arranged for her to be brought over to open the lock. Wright moved outside to find Gumshoe muttering himself about something he should erase. He had noticed Von Karma and Wright, and he told them to not go into the garden. Disregarding his advice, Von Karma and Wright headed for the garden, and there they found a talisman which was supposed to belong to the master of Korean channeling technique. They also found a bloody note on a lantern in the gardens that read Maya, albeit upside down. Von Karma told Wright that there could only be one explanation for the writing being upside down. Alice Dewsnam had written the message herself in blood. Wright and police investigation team concluded the true crime scene was guarded on the temple site. The clues there could have not been planted after Bikini witnessed the stabbing in Hazakura temple. As the burned down bridge meant that temple site was the gate to the main hall. Wright met Edgewood and Iris, with the latter being locked. Wright asked to come along, but said public should. Wright met Bikini main hall again, having figured Alice Duke's talisman found in the garden had the same crest symbol depicting the crest of the master of Korean. Wright concluded Alice Duke's name was really Miss Fey. Maya's missing, with the break-in of Cyclops confirming. However, before anything more, the ground beneath began to tremble, and so it finally revealed that Alex Duke's name is none other than Fey, Maya and Mia's mother. Anyways, we talking about what happens. Aware of Edgewood's deathly fear of earthquakes from a childhood trauma and worried for Maya's safety, Wright raced back to the temple. When he arrived, Edgewood ashamedly told him that Iris had escaped while he had passed out from fear. However, they soon found her at the inner temple, saying that she had ran ahead because she was worried about the sacred cavern cave-in. However, something about the inner temple had changed. There were no 5 trick locks on the door to the sacred cavern. Iris said it was impossible for them to remove. Edgewood left to further investigate the garden while Wright stayed to ask for Iris' view. Iris said the trick locks could be set in hundreds of different. The only person who had set them to remove them. Wright said that someone had probably set more locks on the door Iris first one in order to prevent. Iris said she could probably all the locks through every combination, but that would take a whole day. Remembering the contradiction of Iris and Bikini's testimony, Wright asked her where she had really only for 3 Cyclops to appear. Wright met Edgewood again in the garden, where the latter had seen Iris's face before. In court during his first case, the woman in question had been the daughter of a jeweler. However, Edgewood claimed that she could not possibly be Iris. Wright later met Pearl and Buds at Heavenly Hall and decided time to ask Pearl where she had. He was also hiding a secret since 5 Cyclops appeared when all she told Phoenix that she had lost her spiritual powers, which made him suspect that she had tried to channel his failed. Wright talked to Bikini again. He revealed that Misty Fey had come to Hazakura temple to foil a plot to destroy the Fey family line, as well as a feud between Misty and Wright. Told her about an incident a year previous at Koren, in which Morgan had been an accomplice with the aim of installing her as Pearl as an expert. At this point, Bikini let something. Iris was Morgan Fey's daughter. Shocked by this, Wright questioned her further, only to learn that Morgan had 3 daughters: Pearl, Iris, and Iris' sister. Bikini couldn't remember the twins, but Wright had a good idea as to. Wright found Gumshoe examining the Hazakura temple courtyard again, this time looking for a real murder weapon. He had also found the remains of a partially burned letter in the incinerator. Wright could not see who it was addressed to, but readable part contained instructions telling someone to channel his after the light out bell had run. Gumshoe then to write a metal detector for a murder weapon. He eventually reacted to. Upon examining it, they discovered that it contained a hidden sword. Wright knew it might be a real murder weapon, and he wiped out. Wright went to Edgewood again and tell him what he learned about Bikini. He came to the same conclusion: Iris' being Talia Hawthorne. Edgewood, however, maintained that Hawthorne could not possibly, and told Wright she was dead 6 years had passed since her conviction for Doug Swallow's smoke, and she had finally been previous month. Wright, knowing that someone had tried to channel the spirit on the night of the crime, was convinced that Dahlia Horton could be related in the case after all. Wright talked to Iris again, telling her that he knew about Horton and figured out how Iris could have seen her 2 different places at the same time. Someone had channeled her spirit on that. Iris confirmed this to be true, and when Wright asked why she had not mentioned it, she told him that her sister always did the right. Didn't want to get in Horton's way, having betrayed her once before already. Iris told Wright that she was supposed to help fake the kidnapping on Dusky Bridge 11 years earlier, but had been so scared that she had not shown up. He and Horton had planned it as a way to get revenge on their father for abandoning their mother, Morgan Fey. Now you get what happened, how these 2 ended up. Iris and Wright's conversation was then interrupted by Von Karma, who told Wright to leave and continue his investigation. Iris promised to open the trick locks by the next day, and Wright so left for Heavenly Hall to uncover Pearl's secret piece of puzzle. With the evidence he gathered, Wright managed to figure out that the burned letter was meant for Pearl, and had written by her mother Morgan. Pearl was supposed to channel Dahlia Horton's spirit after the lights out bell, but did not know what Morgan was planning or even who Horton was. Wright proved that Pearl had been the one who read the instructions because she had made a mistake only a child could make. The letter told her to gravely roast the master in the fires of Hades. But unfamiliar with the word, Pearl had instead covered Misty Fey's scroll in gravy. Pearl admitted she had followed the instructions in the letter, but upon trying to channel Horton's spirit, found that she couldn't do it, which is why she thought she lost her spiritual powers. Wright asked her if there was not another possible reason why she might have failed to channel the spirit, and was told that it could happen if someone has already channeled this same spirit at the same time. Dorot then appeared and told Wright the efforts to reopen the sacred cave were in vain, and then Maya could never come back. Just like Mia, he promised Wright that they would settle everything in court the next day. Meanwhile, Morgan Fey told herself that Fey's main family line was no more, and Pearl would finally take over as the next master. Next day, let's go to next day. Go to defendant lobby. In defendant lobby, Wright was greeted by Edgewood and Pearl, but Iris nowhere to be found. Edgewood told Wright that she was in the prosecutor's as she would be testifying as a witness for prosecution. Dorot would be taken over the case since Karma had stayed behind in Sacred Cavern to try and remove blocks, which Edgewood estimated would take 3 more hours. So, the first session began. As soon as Iris was called to the stand, she apologized to Wright, saying she had not been honest with them. Iris confessed to being an accomplice to the murder and altering the crime scene in order to cover for someone else. To Wright's disbelief, Iris named Maya as the murderer, saying that she had seen Duke's nymph attack Maya with a dagger in the inner temple garden, at which point Maya had killed her in self-defense. Wright questioned the credibility of her testimony, showing the Duke's nymph's staff contained a hidden sword. The victim already had a weapon in her hand. A separate dagger would not. Dorot dismissed this, saying that the swords were unwieldy for close quarter combat, which explained why the victim might have used a dagger instead. Wright, still unconvinced, revealed Duke's nymph's true identity as Misty Fey, Maya's long-lost mother. It was inconceivable that she would try to kill her own mother. At this point, Dorot presented a blood-stained dagger to he had found it stuck onto the bark of a pine tree, and it corroborated Iris's statement. The judge asked her to testify one more time about what she witnessed. Iris testified that Maya had stolen the weapon and stabbed her in the stomach when she had her back to the stone lantern. Wright said that this contradicted the autopsy report, which stated that the victim had died from a stab wound back. Dorot explained this by saying that the stone lantern in the garden was not lit, and Iris could have made a mistake due to darkness, which could also explain why Maya and Duke's nymph had not recognized each other. Then presented the stone lantern to the court. The judge pointed out that the name Maya was written in the blood on the lantern, much to the disbelief of Dorot, who was apparently unaware of this and insisted that there was no writing on the lantern. Everyone else, of course, would see the blood as clear as day. Iris recalled that Duke's nymph had not collapsed immediately after being stabbed, and said that she must have written the name behind her back before she died. The judge was now convinced that Maya was a murderer, ordered Iris to testify about the cover-up of the crime scene. Iris claimed to have dragged the body across the Dusky Bridge and used the snowmobile to carry the Haraka's temple, where she had stabbed it with the sword. Wright showed the photo of the snowmobile tracks, which meant that the snow must have stopped falling before she could move the body. Iris confirmed this. However, as Wright then pointed out, the wet data showed that the bridge had caught on fire while snow was still falling, meaning it was impossible for Iris to carry the body across the bridge. It was still a fact, however, that the body had been on the other side of the bridge. It must have made it across somehow. Wright then recalled the person Butts had seen flying over the bridge, presenting Butts' sketch. He surprised the court with an incredible theory. The suspension cables on the bridge were upside down on Butts' picture, which meant the entire picture was upside down. Butts' sketch did not depict a body flying. It depicted Misty's body swinging on the burning bridge like a pendulum, suspended by one of the cables. The fall from landing on the other side had caused the trauma on her body and knocked the starb off her staff. Iris claimed to have no knowledge of this. Wright pointed out that someone had to recede the body on the other side and carry it to the snow pit, and Bikini could not have carried a body on her back with her back problems, meaning Iris was the only one who could have done it, since there was no way Iris could be oblivious to all this. Wright finally realized why his client had turned on him and was trying to pin murder on Maya. The woman at the witness was not Irene, but Dahlia Hawthorne, someone back from the dead. Wright told the court about Morgan's plan to have Pearl channel Hawthorne, saying that this explained how Iris could be seen at two different places at the same time. The Iris whom Bikini had met at Inner Temple had in fact been Hawthorne. Pearl insisted that the Iris at the witness stand was a real Iris, as she had been kept under the watch since arrest. But Wright pointed out that the earthquake the previous day had given Iris an opportunity to escape while Edgewood was having panic attack. Hawthorne was suspicious places with Iris then. Her cover was blown. Hawthorne revealed herself. Hawthorne testified that about her summoning and plan devised by Maya Fey, her mother. Plan was to have Pearl summon her so she could find Maya and kill her. Maya gone, Pearl would inherit the position of master. Hawthorne had only gone along with the plan because of her grudge against the smiling, willing to hurt and kill anyone held dear. Hawthorne testified that upon being first summoned, she had hunted Maya down and attacked her in the Inner Temple garden, but had been stabbed shortly after. She had lost consciousness, but not before writing Maya's name in blood on a bone in an attempt to cast suspicion on her. Sometime later, she had awakened in the sacred cabin where Iris found her, allowing Hawthorne to trap her sister in the cabin and lock it again. Hawthorne guessed that since Maya had not been found anywhere, Maya had jumped into the river and killed her, killing her own mother, achieving her objective of revenge. After Hawthorne received a call himself confirming that Iris had been found in the Inner Temple and Maya had nowhere. Wright was devastated because Goddard recommended him to check for the evidence. Praising that Goddard was referred to Wright, explained that Maya could not have thrown herself into a river, as there was a rock shelf under a cliff on the Inner Temple, making it impossible for her to reach the river if she had jumped. Thinking things through, Wright asked Hawthorne who was channeling her at the moment. Hawthorne replied that such an answer was obvious. She was being channeled by Pearl Fey. Wright countered by revealing that Pearl had tried to channel her, but she had failed to do so. Because someone else had been channeling her at the time, this left her and only one person capable of channeling her, Maya Fey. With Hawthorne possessing her, there was no way for the vengeful spirit to harm her. Hawthorne raged, demanding to know who had foiled her plans. Mia appeared, summoned by Pearl, and told Hawthorne that she had come up with the idea after Maya summoned spirit in consultation. Mia and Wright taunted Hawthorne. All her cruel plots ended in failure, with her killing the wrong people and leading the trail back to her. Although her first crime, the fake kidnapping and stealing the $2 million diamond, was a success, the whole truth came out when Terry Falls escaped the prison, forcing her to kill her oldest stepsister and make Falls commit suicide. Soon after, her plot to kill Phoenix Wright ended in failure, and she was unable to pin Wright for her murder of Dog Swallow, which led to her execution. Finally, there was the fact that she failed to kill Maya, even though she was right in front of her. That was the last straw, and Hawthorne raged at Mia, who calmly stated that Hawthorne could never win as long as Mia. Wright added that the outcome of the battle no longer mattered and angrily demanded Hawthorne to leave Maya's body immediately, distraught and anguished. Dahlia Hawthorne was excised from Maya's body with memories of failing relentlessly, leaving behind a severely weakened Maya. The judge remarked that it would be best if Hawthorne was never mentioned. Wright remarked that Judge seemed considerably calm for someone who had just witnessed supernatural. The judge admitted that he had been reading and blood summoning, as his brother suggested that he open his mind. Oh, wait. The judge we were going through is the judge brother? Wait, what? Miles is judge and Phoenix is judge are brothers? Okay. Just as the judge was about to announce his verdict, Goddard objected. While it proved that Maya was not the one who killed Ellis, the identity of real killer was yet to be determined, meaning Iris remained the prime suspect. Goddard turned to Wright over finishing the trial without help. For the first time in his career, Phoenix Wright would have finished his trial alone with no counselor to help him. So, during recess in defendant lobby, Wright asked Iris why she helped Hawthorne so much. Iris feels sorry for her sister who had been abandoned by her mother and neglected by her father. She also confirmed that Hawthorne had told Wright the previous day that she was supposed to help with the stage kidnapping earlier. Iris also admitted to moving Duke's body for the real killer, but said she could not reveal who it was. She then summoned the judge's. She was then summoned to the chamber, but before she left, she Wright that there was something to tell him later. Wright had a brief conversation with Mia, who assured him that Maya would recover completely. He left Wright with figuring out who they must have 4 patterns for the bridge burning out someone who not in Hazakura temple following day. Thinking that Wright had some ideas, and so for the first time we totally convinced the judge announced the results of the blood test in Denver, while there hadn't been time to confirm whose blood it was. Definitely was not the victim's blood. The judge also expressed his desire to end the trial as quickly as possible, and considering petition, Goddard and Wright agreed. Goddard first had Maya testify to who the real killer. Due to her rattled composure, her testimony of both consistent, and Wright knew she was trying to hide something. He accidentally let it slip that there was a man behind. While beforehand she could not identify him. She also said she had dreamed help me dead man. Seeing her slip up, she amended her testimony, stating that she had seen the man by the light of stone lantern in the garden. However, this was impossible since the dead lantern was out of commission that night. When Goddard asked how Maya had seen the killer in the dark, Wright responded, "There are some things that can dark," but Wright then requested that the court turn off all lights. In the pitch black darkness of the room, the judge was in shock as the identity of Wright's accused killer was laid bare. His mask aglow, Goddard congratulated Phoenix on his deduction. Maya responded that Wright was wrong, that she had thought the assailant was a man because the crime scene had been cleaned, all evidence incriminating, except for the bloody writing on the white lanterns. Wright pointed out that the blood was eliminated evidence and proposed that the killer didn't clean up the writing because the killer didn't see it. Maya pointed out that all torches in the garden were so any person couldn't miss. Wright conceded this and once again accused Goddard, pointing that he could not see the white background, which had been hinted on their last case. Yeah, the ketchup, by the way. That's what they're pointing at. Maya pointed out that Goddard hadn't been in a temple until the bridge was finished being rebuilt by the court, that Goddard had found Pearl first up while he was doing his Goddard-style investigation. However, Goddard made one fatal step up. When he noted in the inner temple there was a hanging scroll picture of Mia Fey in clothing surrounded by hue and aroma of western tea. Wright pointed out that Pearl had thrown gravy upon the scroll before dusky bridge was fixed. If Goddard had come to the inner temple for the first time and seen the hanging scroll, he could have not known that Mia Fey was wearing Japanese clothing under. Goddard objected that he would have known about Morgan's plan in advance. Couldn't have known about Morgan's plans in advance. Wright agreed and showed him the burnt letter that Detective Gumshoe had found. Pearl had said that the seal had already been. Wright proposed that Goddard, using his power as prosecutor, listen to between Morgan and Pearl. He had found the plans before Pearl had. However, even though he had found out about the plan, he had left the plan where Pearl could find them. Goddard asked for a motive, and Wright gave the important link to Goddard and Maya Fey, her sister, Goddard's old love, Mia Fey. Goddard admitted this, as well as Wright's revelation that Goddard has none other than the defense attorney, Diego Armando. I told you, something was strange about Armando. After being poisoned by Dahlia Hawthorne, Goddard had fallen in love in a 5-year coma, so poisoned by Dahlia. The smell of doctor's cup of coffee had finally brought him out of the coma, only for him to learn that the woman he loved was dead and the woman he hated was on death row. At this point, he felt he had only 2 reasons left to arrest Mia's successor, Wright, who is Phoenix Wright, obviously, who he blamed for aiding Hawthorne and failing to protect Mia and to protect Mia's sister Maya, who he knew was still in danger from Morgan's vengeance. Goddard planned everything at Hazakura. He had contacted Misty Fey using his connections as a prosecutor, wanting her to be at the site to prevent Pearl from summoning Houghton. And Iris was already there. Was to be the fall girl in Godot's backup plan in case they couldn't stop Morgan's plan. Godot's role was to protect Maya Fey in case something went wrong. Misty originally tried to invite Pearl to her room to read books together, thus preventing the summoning. When this failed, Misty summoned Houghton's spirit so Pearl couldn't do so. Godot acknowledged Wright's skill as an attorney but stopped short of admitting everything, challenging Wright to figure out everything on his own. The judge added that based on new revelations, only Maya or Godot could have committed the murder. How this trial would end would all come on Maya Fey's final testimony about what happened in the garden. Maya testified that she saw 3 red lights before she was splattered with blood. However, she had heard the person who was stabbed strike back, knocking the lights out and causing a hideous scream, after which she blacked out. Wright pushed through the testimony. The murder weapon was already stuck in the victim's body. She must have struck the killer with the dagger that was found at the crime scene. Godot objected that the blood could have been the victim's blood, but Wright reminded Godot that the blood had already been tested and it was not the victim's blood. Therefore, it could have only been the killer. Godot, however, had an answer for this as well. He was the one who entered the incriminated dagger as evidence. If he truly was a killer, he could most certainly have washed the blood off the knife planted on the blood to cover his track. Either way, Godot claimed with certainty that the blood wasn't his. Maya added, if Godot was hit by the knife, he would have left a rip or blood on his clothes he hadn't had the chance to change since the murder. However, no blood or wound was found on him. Wright argued that Godot might have bought a change of clothes, but the judge reminded him that Godot couldn't have predicted the lightning strike that left him stranded at the inn. Desperately, Wright suggested Godot was naked when he committed the murder, but Godot countered that the freezing temperature that night made that explanation impossible. Godot scoffed at Wright and claiming that Mia would have solved this case by now. However, despite being backed in the corner, Wright insisted that he would be able to prove that Godot was the killer and there was, in fact, a way for him to hide a wound. Godot, impressed by this, decided to pile on pressure. Wright would only be allowed one chance to prove himself, and if he failed, Iris would automatically be found guilty. Undeterred, Wright agreed to this and, after thinking it over, proposed that Godot was hiding the wound under his own mask. At first, Godot bluntly denied this claim and claimed that Wright would never be half lawyer that Mia was. However, he suddenly saw Mia's spirit standing and objecting alongside Wright, and realized that was living on through him. As Godot froze in shock, Wright pressed on. He reminded the court that Maya had seen red lights disappear, followed by the scream, which he concluded meant that Godot's mask must have been knocked off by his face when he was attacked. He demanded that Godot remove his mask showed a wound he was sure was there. An explosion that erupted from Godot's mask, causing him to scream pain and frustration. And yet, Armando's confession. Godot confessed his hatred for Wright because he went on living his happy-go-lucky life even after covering for Houghton and letting Mia die. Godot thought he couldn't forgive Wright, but he knew deep down that one he couldn't forgive was himself. Not able to face Mia's death head-on, Godot had to run away, throwing away his past, his name, and even his face, hiding behind a mask. Even in the end, he couldn't decide if he really wanted to save Maya that night to get revenge on Houghton for ruining his life. Watching Mia's spirit and Wright finally gave him an epiphany all along. He was simply trying to save his own broken soul in desperate attempt to atone for his failure to protect Mia. Maya reassured, however, that she believed in him, for which Godot thanked her and said to call him by his real name. Blood then seeped from his mask, not mouth. Wright warned Armando of his wound, but Armando just laughed it off, reminding Wright that red did not exist in this. We also have Iris's confession. Iris was called back to this. Even though she was innocent of murder, she would still be tried for her role as an accomplice in the crime. Iris wanted to say one thing to Wright before she was taken away, as she had promised to Edward. She would reveal her deception to Wright, that she had posed as a sister while they were dating. After Houghton had handed off the bottle to poison Wright, he was ready to kill him to get it back to Wright, showing it to everyone that he met and the risk of police finding out. Iris begged her to wait, not wanting her to commit anything, and tried to get the bottle back from Wright by posing Houghton. However, she couldn't get Wright to give it back and eventually fell in love. Houghton finally took the matters into a whole own hands and tried to poison Wright's cold medicine, which led to Dog Swallow's death and her arrest. In light of this revelation, Wright replied that she really was the person he always thought she was, and that he believed in Dolly even after Horton was found guilty. Afterwards, Armando pondered how many cups he had drank over the year, but could only say that the cup he was drinking right now was the best. Wright, taking the drink of his own, agreed. The judge finally ended down his not. It's pretty cool. Where Wright was upset that he couldn't say Armando, but Mia, channeled by Pearl, said he did say possible. He also said that there is nothing else left to. He had admitted farewell to end the award. Everyone was ready to celebrate and plead his case. No that Pearl was no. I went to find her, and then Fon Karma began. Edgewood summarized that he was being strong for Pearl. Said Pearl was so upset by this. Her mother had led her astray. For the events unfolded. Maya came back without Pearl, unable to imagine where she would go, especially after calling Korean village only to be told she wasn't there. Wright had an idea. Maya and Wright headed to Harazakura temple, where Bikini told them Pearl was at the inner temple. When they arrived, they didn't see Pearl at first, but noticed that the picture of Misty had been cleaned. An upset Pearl reunited with Wright and Maya, who assured her that the claim for the event was not hers. Reflecting on the events at hand, Bikini, Wright, Maya and Pearl discovered a picture of Mia and Maya. They were younger, trying to fix the sacred urn, having just broken it. In the charm that Misty always wore. Misty had never forgotten about her daughters, since they were always with her. Bikini then offered spiritual training to Wright. However, he refused to this proposition, uttering his catchphrase one last time. Damn, this was a journey, alright? Oh, I loved this game thoroughly. I loved the game thoroughly, and I will be the first guy to say this. This was one of the best visual novels I have played ever, hands down. I have played some visual novels in the past, some visual novels which were really bad, some which were really good, meaning something like Little Busters. I played, and really bad meaning like something like Ascendant Heart. So I have played visual novels in the past as there's a freaking truck going on. It's freaking 2 in the morning and there's a truck going past my house. Anyways, I have played visual novels in the past and I've completed a bunch of them, but this will always stick close to me. Phoenix Wright is something that can it's just has the it factor, right, for being a visual novel. And I'll be the first guy to say Phoenix Wright is one of the best visual novels ever made. If anything, I would say that the third part is my favorite one of the trilogy, hands down. It had everything. It had drama, it had romance, it had Wright, it had Mia, everything, Edgewood, everything, and I liked it. And amping up the whole drama about the whole game is just so much more amazing for me, for somebody who is a vivid enjoyer of visual novel, especially in the final chapter. Final chapter's final moments definitely are chills for me because it's the reveal that Armando is just there, standing there and looking at Phoenix and being one together. It's a freaking chilling scene. And even right now, if I was to go back and play that scene over again, it's gonna be chilling because just the moment you see him go objection and you see Mia's spirit channeling inside Phoenix and see how far Phoenix has come from his first game up to this point. It's kind of amazing how much he has progressed from the first game, because first game he was just a rookie nobody, and now he is a well-established lawyer to a point where in episode 3, when he fails to defend Maggie Bride, you see that Phoenix Wright's popularity is shining. He's a famous lawyer because that one case put a stint on his name, and that's just to clear that name he had to make, I'm not a fake one, a real one. That's really cool to me. Also Maggie Bride, because it was Maggie Bride and Phoenix knew it was an innocent guy. So obviously there's just so much general this game offered that I think so it made the game so much better in my eyes, and it improvised mechanics that were introduced in the previous game. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the Nintendo S version had some stuff with the mic as well. I don't remember what it was, but there was some stuff you could do with the mic as well. Because I played the first game only, played more than that. Anyways, that was Phoenix Wright. Next week, I will get to prototype, and the second video this week is probably going to be Age of Wonders, because there's a 50 on Call of Duty, and but since Age of Wonders was the first one to get voted, I'll get that out of the way, and right after the Call of Duty out of the way. So yeah, after I'm done with prototype, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and most probably expect it out by Sunday. So this is a Thursday. I am recording this on a Thursday, so probably you guys will get this on Sunday, and also you can expect the Age of Wonders video on Wednesday. I will have that Sunday and Wednesday. Sunday for longer games, for shorter games. I'll make it so that you guys can have it, or maybe in case the game is very long, like that game to be out again, there will be no games on that. There'll be no second games on the weekend. I'm gonna try but I think instead of every, I think certain things will be made. Some of the games are really big. For example, Dragon Age Inquisition or Baldur's Gate. On those games. Well, I want to play Baldur's Gate, but it's too big for me to download right now. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, there's still a bunch of games that I want to play, and still a bunch of games I will complete as time goes on. Until then, right now, I'm good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, since I will be doing more overviews on more. And don't forget to like, I upload every week, at least try to keep my uploads consistent, and I upload shorts every day on video game cutscenes. That's about it. And also don't forget to like the video and share it with friends, so that even they know that I make overviews. Until next time, peace out.